Alright, welcome back to another movie reading where I take full Hollywood movie scripts or scriptments and I read them in their entirety here on YouTube. If this is your first time to the channel, please consider subscribing as more than 90% of viewers do not subscribe. As always, comment below with the next movie reading you would like to hear. Please enjoy Fight Club, 1999. People are always asking me, did I know Tyler Durden? We fade in on the top floor of a high-rise at night. Tyler has one arm around Jack's shoulder. The other hand holds a handgun with the barrel lodged in Jack's mouth. Tyler is sitting in Jack's lap. They are both sweating and disheveled, both around 30. Tyler is blonde, handsome, and Jack, brunette, is appealing in a dry sort of way. Tyler looks at his watch. 1 minute. He looks out the window. This is the beginning. We are at ground zero. Maybe you should say a few words to mark the occasion. With a gun barrel between your teeth, you only speak in vowels. Jack tongues the barrel to the side of his mouth, still distorted. I can't think of anything. With my tongue, I can feel the rifling in the barrel. For a second, I totally forgot about Tyler's whole controlled demolition thing, and I wondered how clean this gun is. Tyler checks his watch. I'm getting excited now. That old saying, how you always hurt the one you love? Well, it works both ways. Jack turns so he can see down 31 stories. We have front row seats for this theater of mass destruction. The demolitions committee of Project Mayhem wrapped the foundation columns of 10 buildings with blasting gelatin. In 2 minutes, primary charges will blow base charges, and those buildings will be reduced to smoldering rubble. I know this because Tyler knows this. Look what we've accomplished. He checks his watch. 30 seconds. Somehow I realize all of this, the gun, the bombs, the revolution, is really about Marla Singer. We pull back from Jack's face. It's pressed against 2 large breasts that belong to Bob, 45, a moose of a man. Jack is engulfed by Bob in an intense embrace. Bob weeps openly. Bob had bitch tits. We pull back to wide on a church meeting room at night. Men are paired off, hugging, talking in emotional tones. Near the door, a sign on a stand, remaining men together. There was a support group for men with testicular cancer. The big moosey slobbering all over me was Bob. We're still men? Yes, we're still men. Men is what we are. 6 months ago, Bob's testicles were removed. Then, hormone therapy. He developed bitch tits because his testosterone was too high, and his body upped the estrogen. That was where my head fit, into his huge, sweating tits that hung enormous. The way we think of gods as big. They're gonna have to open my pecs again to drain the fluid. Bob hugs tighter, and then looks with empathy into Jack's eyes. Okay, you cry now. Jack looks at Bob. Wait, back up. Let me start earlier. Jack lies in bed, staring at the ceiling. For 6 months, I could not sleep. In the copy room, Jack sleepily stands over a copy machine. His Starbucks cup sits on the lid, moving back and forth as the machine copies. With insomnia, nothing is real. Everything is far away. Everything is a copy of a copy of a copy. Other people make copies, all with Starbucks cups, sipping. Jack picks up his cup and his copies and leaves. Jack is sipping, staring blankly at a Starbucks bag on the floor, full of newspapers and fast food garbage. When deep space exploration ramps up, it will be corporations that name everything. The IBM Stellar Sphere, the Phillips Morris Galaxy, Planet Starbucks. Jack looks up as a pudgy man, Jack's boss, enters. Starbucks cup in hand, and slides a stack of reports on Jack's desk. I'm going to need you out of town a little more this week. We've got some red flags to cover. It must have been Tuesday. He was wearing his cornflower blue tie. Jack responds in listless management speak. You want me to deprioritize my current reports until you advise of a status upgrade? You need to make these your primary action items. He was full of pep, must have had his grande latte enema. Here are your flight coupons. Call me from the road if there are any snags. Your itinerary? Jack hides a yawn, pretends to listen. Jack sits in the bathroom of his condo on the toilet, cordless phone to his ear, flipping through an IKEA catalog. There's a stack of old Playboy magazines and other catalogs nearby. Like everyone else, I had become a slave to the IKEA nesting instinct. Yes, I'd like to order the Erica Picari slipcovers. Jack drops the open catalog on the floor. We move in on the catalog on a picture of a coffee table. If I saw something like a clever coffee table in the shape of a yin-yang, I had to have it. We pan to a photo of an armchair, like a Johann-Schaaf armchair in a thin green stripe pattern. The armchair appears. We pan over. Or the Rizlampa wire lamps of environmentally friendly unbleached paper. The lamps appear. We pan over to the wall. Even the Vildhall clock of galvanized steel resting on a Klipsk shelving unit. The clock appears as the shelving unit appears on the wall. I would flip through catalogs and wonder what kind of dining set defines me as a person. We used to read pornography. Now, it was the Horchow collection. A dining room set appears. Jack, the cordless phone still glued to his ear, walks into frame. No, I don't want cobalt. Oh, that sounds nice. Apricot. Jack opens a cabinet and takes out a plate. I had it all. Even the glass dishes with tiny bubbles and imperfections. Proof they were crafted by honest, simple, hard-working indigenous peoples of wherever. He rummages through the refrigerator. It's practically empty. Jack takes out a jar of mustard, opens it, and uses a butter knife to eat it. Jack at the doctor's office, eyes puffy, face pale, sits before an intern who studies him with bemusement. No, you can't die of insomnia. Maybe I died already. Look at my face. You need to lighten up. Can't you give me something? Red and blue Tuinol, lipstick red Seekanols. You need healthy, natural sleep. Chew valerian root and get some more exercise. The intern ushers Jack to the door. They step into the hallway. The intern walks away from Jack and picks up a chart. I'm in pain. You want to see pain? Swing by First Methodist Tuesday night. See the guys with testicular cancer. Now that's pain. The intern moves into the other room, and Jack stares after him. Jack heads for the front door of the First Methodist Church meeting room. Jack stares at a group of men, including Bob, who are all listening to a group member speak at a lectern. The speaker has pale skin, sunken eyes, and clearly is dying. I wanted 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. Mindy wanted 2 girls and 1 boy. We never could agree on anything. The speaker cracks a sad smile. Some men chuckle, happy to lighten the mood. Well, she had her first child a month ago. A girl with her new husband. And thank God, I'm glad for her because she deserves. The speaker breaks down and weeps uncontrollably. Jack watches. A couple of men go up to the speaker, comforting him and leading him away. A leader takes the stand. Everyone, let's thank Thomas for sharing himself with us. Jack, uncomfortable, joins everyone else. In unison, thank you, Thomas. I look around this room and I see a lot of courage. It gives me strength. We give each other strength. Jack looks around. Most of the men are sniffling, sobbing. Jack squirms in his seat. It's time for a one-on-one. Let's follow Thomas's example and open ourselves. Everyone gets out of their chairs and begins pairing off. Jack stands uncomfortably. Can everyone find a partner? Bob, his chin down on his chest, starts toward Jack, shuffling his feet. The big Moosey, his eyes already shrink-wrapped in tears, knees together, invisible steps. Bob takes Jack into an embrace. Bob was a champion bodybuilder. You know that chest expansion program you see on TV? That was his idea. Using steroids. I was a juicer. Diagonal, then Visceral. It's for racehorses, for Christ's sake. Now I'm bankrupt, divorced. My 2 grown kids won't return my calls. Strangers with this kind of honesty make me grow a big rubbery one. Bob breaks into sobbing, putting his head on Jack's shoulder and completely covering Jack's face. After a long beat of crying, Bob raises up his head and looks at Jack's name tag. Go ahead, Cornelius. You can cry. They look at each other. Slowly, Jack's eyes grow wet. And then, something happened. I was lost in oblivion, dark and silent and complete. Bob pulls Jack's head back into his chest. Jack tightens his arms around Bob. I found freedom. Losing all hope was freedom. Jack pulls away from Bob. On Bob's chest, there's a wet mask of Jack's face, from how he looks weeping. Babies don't sleep this well. Jack lies sound asleep in bed. I became addicted. Jack moves into the group hug of sickly people at a small Protestant church, men and women. In view is the sign by the door, free and clear. Jack stands with a weeping middle-aged woman. He begins to cry along with her. A sign by the door, onward and upward. If I didn't say anything, people assumed the worst. They cried harder, I cried harder. Public building conference room. Everyone, including Jack, sits back in their seats, eyes closed. The leader speaks into a microphone. Tonight, we're going to open the green door, the heart chakra. I wasn't really dying. I wasn't host to cancer or parasites. I was the warm little center that the life of this world crowds around. And you open the door and you step inside. We are inside our hearts. Now, imagine your pain as a white ball of healing light. That's right. The pain itself is a ball of healing light. Jack, with his eyes closed, is silent. It moves over your body, healing you. Keep this going and step forward through the back of the room. Where does it lead? To your cave. Step forward into your cave. In Jack's imagination, he walks along through an ice cavern. That's right. You're going deeper into your cave, and you're going to find your power animal. Jack comes upon a penguin. The penguin looks at him, cocks his head to signal Jack forward. Slide. The penguin jumps onto a patch of ice and slides away. Jack walks out of the doorway, saying goodbye to people. He walks down the sidewalk, shining with peace. Every night I died, and every evening I was born again, resurrected. Jack, still in an embrace with Bob. Bob loved me because he thought my testicles were removed too. Being there, my face against his tits, ready to cry, that was my vacation. Marla Singer enters. She has short, matte black hair and big, dark eyes, like a character from Japanese animation, and she ruined everything. Marla looks around, raises a cigarette to her lips. This is cancer, right? Bob and Jack stare dumbfounded. Everyone is paired off. We move through the room and find Jack's face as he stares. We find Marla's face. She's drinking coffee and smoking a cigarette. This chick, Marla Singer, did not have testicular cancer. She was a liar. Marla sits with the group smoking, listening intently while a member speaks. Jack spies on her. She had no diseases at all. I had seen her at my melanoma Monday night group. Marla sits at the end of the row smoking. All the faces down the row are turned towards her incredulous. At the Free and Clear, my blood parasites group Thursdays, Jack leans out further than the others, scornful. And again at Seize the Day, my tuberculosis Friday night. Jack watches. Marla's eyes are closed, her head on the shoulder of the man she's embraced by. She opens her eyes and catches Jack's stare, but Jack looks away. Marla, the big tourist. Her lie reflected my lie. Marla rests her chin on the man's shoulder. Tears roll down her cheeks. She wipes at them. Marla walks out, the support groups dispersing. Jack exits amongst them. He spots Marla walking away. And suddenly, I felt nothing. I couldn't cry. So once again, I could not sleep. Jack stares after Marla for a long moment. He walks away. Jack, in underwear, is cross-legged on the floor, assembling IKEA furniture, cordless phone shouldered to his ear. No, I just can't believe that card is declined. Okay, let me give you a different card number. Jack gets his wallet off the floor and pulls out another card. He reads the number into the phone. The next group, after guided meditation, after we opened our chakras, when it's time to hug, I'm going to grab that little bitch Marla Singer, pin her arms against her sides and say, we close on Jack as he clamps his arms around Marla in his imagination. Marla, you liar, you big tourist. I need this. Get out. Jack, in pajamas, stares at the Home Shopping Network on his TV. When you have insomnia, you're never really asleep and you're never really awake. I hadn't slept in 4 days. Jack walks in and joins the crowd in the small Protestant church, looking around. People are chattering with each other. But in here, there's a squint of a 5-day headache on everyone. Yet they've forced themselves to be positive. They never said parasite, they said agent. They always talked about getting better. Okay, everyone. Everyone sits in chairs. Jack catches sight of Marla. To open tonight's communion, Chloe would like to say a few words. Taking the lectern is Chloe, a pale, sickly girl whose skin stretches yellowish and tight over her bones. She wears a head bandage. She clears her throat. Ah, Chloe. Chloe looked the way Joni Mitchell's skeleton would look if you made it smile and walk around a party being extra nice to everyone. Well, I'm still here, but I don't know for how long. That's as much certainty as anyone can give me. But I've got some good news. I no longer have any fear of death. Applause from around the room. But I am in a pretty lonely place, and no one will have sex with me. I'm so close to the end, and all I want is to get laid for the last time. I have pornographic movies in my apartment, and lubricants and amyl nitrate. The leader gingerly takes control of the microphone. Thank you, Chloe. Everyone, let's thank Chloe. Thank you, Chloe. You're now standing at the entrance of your cave. You step inside your cave and you walk. Keep walking. Jack's face, eyes closed, is motionless. If I did have a tumor, I'd name it Marla. Marla. The little scratch on the roof of your mouth that would heal if only you could stop tonguing it, but you can't. Now find your power animal. Jack finds Marla smoking a cigarette in his imagination. Marla cocks her head, indicating she wants him to slide. Jack's eyes open and turn to Marla, watching her blow smoke rings with her eyes closed. Everyone stands and mills about, pairing off. Pick someone special to you tonight. Jack sees the ghastly specter of Chloe ambling towards him. He tries to smile. She smiles with a twisted, dying mouth. Hello, Mr. Taylor. I never give my real name at support groups. Hi, Chloe. We've never actually talked. Chloe's eyes are eerily bright with desperation. Jack, in a sincere attempt at levity, chokes out. You look good. You look like a pirate. Chloe laughs, a little too much. Jack squeezes out a laugh, and then he sees Marla off by herself. Someone heads for her. Excuse me, I have to... Jack gives a quick nod to Chloe and darts towards Marla. Chloe watches him go. We stay on Jack and Marla as Jack clamps his arms around her. He whispers into her ear. We need to talk. Sure. I'm on to you. You're a faker. You aren't dying. What? Okay, in the Sylvia Plath philosophy way, we're all dying. But you're not dying the way Chloe is dying. Tell the other person how you feel. You're a tourist. I saw you at melanoma, tuberculosis, and testicular cancer. And I saw you practicing this. Practicing what? Telling me off. Is it going as well as you hoped? Reads his name tag. Mr. Taylor. I'll expose you. Go ahead, I'll expose you. Share yourself completely. Marla puts her head down on Jack's shoulder as if she were crying. Jack pulls her head back up. She deadpans at him. Why are you doing this? It's cheaper than a movie, and there's free coffee. These are my groups. I was here first. I've been coming for a year. A year? How did you manage that? Anyone who might have noticed either died or recovered and never came back. Let yourself cry. Why do you do it? I don't know, I guess when people think you're dying, they really listen, instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. Yeah, a brief recognition between them, broken as the leader passes. Quietly now, share with each other. Jack waits until the leader is out of earshot. It becomes an addiction. Really? Jack sighs and then pulls back. Look, I can't cry with a faker present. Candy stripe a cancer ward? It's not my problem. Please, can't we do something? Marla stares out of the room. Jack follows her. Now the closing prayer. Marla gets to the sidewalk and moves along quickly. We'll split up the week. You can have lymphoma, tuberculosis, and... You take tuberculosis. My smoking doesn't go over at all. I think testicular cancer should be no contest. Well, technically I have more of a right to be there than you. You still have your balls. You're kidding. I don't know, am I? Jack follows Marla into a laundromat. Marla walks with authority up to an unwatched dryer. She takes out clothes, picks up jeans, pants, and shirts. I'll take the parasites. You can't have both parasites. You can take blood parasites. I want brain parasites. Okay, I'll take blood parasites and organic brain dementia. I want that. You can't have the whole brain. So far, you have 4 and I only have 2. Then take blood parasites. It's yours. Now we each have 3. Marla gathers the chosen garments and heads out past Jack. Jack follows, bewildered. You left half your clothes. Honk! Jack starts. Marla led him into the street with traffic barreling down it. Marla walks on, oblivious, as cars screech to a halt and horns blare. Jack dashes, following. Marla drops the pile of clothes on a thrift store counter. An old clerk sifts through the clothes and begins writing on a pad. You're selling those? Marla steps down hard on Jack's foot. He winces in pain. For the clerk to hear. Yes, I'm selling some clothes. The clerk starts to ring up the assessed amounts. So, we each have 3. That's 6. What about the 7th day? I want ascending bowel cancer. The girl had done her homework. I want ascending bowel cancer. The clerk gives a strange look as he hands money to Marla. Oh, that's your favorite too. Tried to slip it by me, eh? We'll split it. You get it the 1st and 3rd Sunday of the month. Deal. They shake. Jack tries to withdraw his hand and Marla holds it. Looks like this is goodbye. Let's not make a big thing out of it. She walks to the door, pocketing the money and not looking back. How's this for not making a big thing? Jack watches her go. A moment, and then he follows after. Jack hesitates, unsure, and then runs/walks to catch up to her. Marla, should we maybe exchange numbers? Should we? In case we want to switch nights. I suppose. Jack takes out a business card and writes his number on the back and hands it to her. She takes the pen and grabs his hand and writes her number on his palm. She walks into the street, causing more screeching and honking. She turns and holds up the card. It doesn't have your name. Who are you? Cornelius? Mr. Taylor? Dr. Zaius? Any of the stupid names you give each night? Jack starts to answer, but the traffic noise is too loud. Marla just shakes her head, turns, and keeps moving. A bus moves into view, obscuring her. This is how I met Marla Singer. In an airplane cabin, the plane touches down. The cabin bumps. Jack's eyes open. You wake up at O'Hare. Jack snaps awake again, looking around, disoriented. You wake up at SeaTac. The rear of a crashed car sticks up by the side of the road. Jack stands, marking on a clipboard. The sun sets behind. Jack stands at a gate counter. An attendant smiles at him. Check-in for that flight doesn't begin for another 2 hours, sir. Jack looks with blearing eyes at his watch and steps away. He looks at an overhanging clock. Pacific, Mountain, Central. Lose an hour, gain an hour. This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. Jack's eyes snap open as the plane lands. You wake up at Air Harbor International. Jack stands on a conveyor belt, briefcase at his feet. He watches people moving past on the opposite conveyor. If you wake up at a different time and in a different place, could you wake up as a different person? Jack misses seeing Tyler on the opposite conveyor belt. They pass each other. Jack sits next to a businessman on a flight. As they have idle conversation, we move in on Jack's tray. An attendant's hand sets coffee down with a small container of cream. Everywhere I travel, tiny life. Single-serve sugar, single-serve cream, single pat of butter. Hands place a dinner tray down. Microwave cordon bleu hobby kit. Jack brushes his teeth in a hotel bathroom. Shampoo conditioner combo, single serving mouthwash, tiny bar of soap. Jack picks up an individual wrapped Q-tip and looks at it. He moves out of the bathroom into the main room. Jack sits on the bed. He turns on the TV. It's tuned to the Sheraton channel, showing waiters serve people in a large banquet room. Jack stops brushing his teeth, feels something on the bed. He lifts it. It's a small dinner mint. Jack sits on another plane next to a frumpy woman. They chat. Jack turns to look at his food and takes a bite. He turns back and a bald man is next to him talking. Jack takes another bite. It's a businessman sitting next to him talking. Jack takes another bite, and it's a businesswoman. The people I meet on each flight, they're single-serving friends. Between takeoff and landing, we have our time together, but that's all we get. Jack's eyes snap open. You wake up at Logan. A giant corrugated metal door opens in a warehouse. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0. 2 technicians lead Jack to a burnt-out shell of a wrecked automobile. Jack sets down his briefcase, opens it, and starts to make notes on a clipboard form. I'm a recall coordinator. My job is to apply the formula. It's a story problem. Here's where the infant went through the windshield. 3 points. A new car built by my company leaves somewhere traveling at 60 miles per hour. The rear differential locks up. The teenager's braces around the backseat ashtray would make a good anti-smoking ad. The car crashes and burns with everyone trapped inside. Now, do we initiate a recall? The father must have been huge. See how the fat burned into the driver's seat with his polyester shirt? Very modern art. Take the number of vehicles in the field, A, and multiply it by the probable rate of failure, B, and then multiply the result by the average out-of-court settlement, C. A times B times C equals X. Jack is speaking to the businesswoman next to him on the plane. If X is less than a cost of a recall, then we don't do one. Are there a lot of these kinds of accidents? Oh, you wouldn't believe. Which car company do you work for? A major one. Turgid silence. Jack turns to the window. He sees a pelican get sucked into the turbine. Every time the plane banked too sharply on takeoff or landing, I prayed for a crash or a mid-air collision. Anything. Jack's face remains bland during the following. The plane buckles. The cabin wobbles. People panic. Masks drop. No more haircuts. Nothing matters. Not even bad breath. The side of the plane shears off. Screaming passengers are sucked out into the night air, flying past the quivering wind. Magazines and other objects fly everywhere. Life insurance pays triple if you die on a business trip. Jack remains in the same position, same bland expression. Ding! The seatbelt light goes out. Jack snaps awake. Everything is normal. Some passengers get out of their seats. From next to Jack, a voice we've heard before. There are 3 ways to make napalm. 1. Mix equal parts of gasoline and frozen orange juice. Jack turns to see Tyler. Without turning, Jack continues. 2. Equal parts gasoline and Diet Cola. 3. Dissolved kitty litter in gasoline until the mixture is thick. Pardon me? Tyler turns to Jack. This is how I met Tyler Durden. Tyler offers his hand. Jack takes it. You know why they have oxygen masks on planes? Supply oxygen? Oxygen gets you high. In a catastrophic emergency, we're taking giant, panicked breaths. Tyler grabs a safety instruction card from the seat back and hands it to Jack. Suddenly, we become euphoric and docile. We accept our fate. Tyler points to passive faces on the drawn figures. Emergency water landing, 600 miles per hour. Blank faces, calm as Hindu cows. Jack laughs. What do you do, Tyler? What do you want me to do? I mean, for a living. Why, so you can say, oh, that's what you do, and be smug little shit about it? Jack laughs. Tyler reaches under the seat in front of him and lifts a briefcase. You have kind of a sick desperation in your laugh. Jack points to his own briefcase. We have the same briefcase. Tyler turns the top of his briefcase towards Jack. Open it. Jack looks at Tyler, then pops the latches and raises the lid to reveal quaintly wrapped bars of soap. Soap, the yardstick of civilization. He reaches in his pocket. I make and sell soap. Tyler hands Jack his card. The Paper Street Soap Company. If you were to add nitric acid to the soap-making process, one would get nitroglycerin. With enough soap, one could blow up the world, if one were so inclined. Tyler snaps the briefcase shut. Jack just stares. Tyler, you are by far the most interesting single-serving friend I've ever met. Tyler stares back. Jack, enjoying his chance to be witty, leans closer to Tyler. You see, when you travel, everything is small and self-contained. The spork, I get it. You're very clever. Thank you. How's that working out for you? What? Being clever? Great. Keep it up then. Keep it right up. Tyler stands and looks towards the aisle. As I squeeze past, do I give the ass or the crotch? Tyler moves to the aisle, his ass towards Jack, and walks away. We are defined by the choices we make. Tyler goes to the curtain dividing first class and slaps the curtain aside, sits in an empty seat. Jack watches. How I came to live with Tyler? Well, airlines have this policy about vibrating luggage. We see an empty baggage claim area. No one except for Jack and a security task force man. The security guy, smirking, holds a receiver to his ear from an official phone on the wall. Throwers don't worry about ticking. Modern bombs don't tick. Excuse me? Throwers? Baggage holders? When a suitcase vibrates, the throwers have to call the police. My suitcase was vibrating? 9 times out of 10 it's an electric razor, but every once in a while, he whispers, it's a dildo. It's airline policy not to imply ownership in the event of a dildo. We use the indefinite article a dildo, never your dildo. Jack sees through a window Tyler at the curb throwing his briefcase into the back of a shiny red convertible. Tyler leaps over the door into the driver's seat and peels out. Jack turns away, looking back at the security man. In the background, a harried man dashes after Tyler in the convertible, screaming, I had everything in that bag. My CK shirts, my DKNY shoes. The security guy into the phone. Yeah? Uh-huh, yeah. Oh. A lone suitcase sits on the concrete. Security personnel keep their distance. Kaboom! The suitcase explodes. The security man shakes his head and hangs up. I'm terribly sorry. The security man hands Jack a claim form. Jack snatches it, disgusted, takes out a pen and starts filling it out. You know the industrial slang for a flight attendant? Air mattress. Along a residential street, Jack looks ahead, sees a tall, gray, bland building on the corner. Home was a condo on the 15th floor of a filing cabinet for widows and young professionals. The walls were solid concrete. A foot of concrete is important when your next-door neighbor lets her hearing aid go and has to watch the game shows at full volume. The taxi turns a corner and sees Jack in front of the building. A diffuse cloud of smoke wafts away from a blown-out section of the 15th floor. Fire trucks, police cars, and a mob are all crowded around the lobby area. Or when a volcanic blast of debris that used to be your furniture and personal effects blows out your floor-to-ceiling windows and sails flaming into the night. Jack, gaping at the sight above him, absently gives the cabbie money. The taxi pulls away. Jack starts toward the building. He pushes through the fray of people into the lobby. The doorman sees Jack enter and gives a sad smile and shakes his head. There's nothing up there. Jack presses the button. The doorman moves next to him. You can't go into the unit. Police orders. The elevator doors open. Jack hesitates. The doors close. He heads out the lobby doors. The doorman follows. Jack walks past smoking, charred debris. A flash of orange from the yin-yang table. The clock face from the hall clock. Part of an arm from the green armchair. His feet crunch on glass. How embarrassing. Do you have someone you can call? Jack comes to his refrigerator lying on its side. He reaches down and takes a note. Marla, and a phone number, from under a banana magnet. We cut to a close shot of Jack's stove hissing. The police would later tell me the pilot light might have gone out, letting out just a little bit of gas. Jack gets onto a payphone. The doorman follows, watching him. Lots of young people trying to impress the world and buy too many things. Jack picks up the receiver and puts in a quarter. He looks at Marla's number a long moment. The sound of the hiss. The gas could have slowly filled the condo, 1,700 square feet with high ceilings, for days and days. Jack replaces the receiver. He pockets Marla's number and digs out a small file of fax. He flips through the pages for phone numbers and addresses. Most of the pages are blank. The doorman in the background. Many young people feel trapped and desperate. We close on the base of Jack's refrigerator. And then the refrigerator compressor would have clicked on. Kaboom! The screen goes white. Jack looks at the doorman. Tyler's business card falls from the file of fax, and Jack catches it. If you don't know what you want, you end up with a lot that you don't. The doorman walks away and stares at Tyler's card. If you ask me now, I couldn't tell you why I called him. Jack redeposits the quarter and dials Tyler's number. It rings and rings and rings. Jack sighs and hangs up the phone. A moment later, the phone rings. Hello? Who is this? Tyler? Who is this? I'm sorry, we met on the plane. We have the same briefcase. I'm, the clever guy. Oh, yeah. I just called a second ago. There was no answer. I'm at a payphone. I star 69'd you. I never pick up my phone. What's up? Well, let me see. Here's the thing. Lou's Tavern at night. A small building in the middle of a concrete parking lot. Jack and Tyler sit in the back with a pitcher of beer. You buy furniture. You tell yourself, this is the last sofa I'll ever need. No matter what else happens, I've got the sofa issue handled. And then the right set of dishes, the right dinette. This is how we fill up our lives. Tyler lights a cigarette. I guess so. And now, it's gone. All gone. Tyler offers cigarettes. Jack declines. It could be worse. A woman could cut off your penis while you're asleep and toss it out the window of a moving car. There's always that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a terrible tragedy. No. I mean, you did lose a lot of nice, neat little shit. The trendy paper lamps, the Eurotrash shelving unit, am I right? Jack laughs and nods. He shakes his head and drinks. But maybe, just maybe, you've been delivered. Jack toasts. Delivered from Swedish furniture. Delivered from armchairs in obscure green stripe patterns. Delivered from Martha Stewart. Delivered from bullshit colors like cobalt, ebony, and fuchsia. They laugh together, and then silence. They drink. Insurance will cover it. Oh yeah? You gotta start making the lists. What lists? The now I gotta go out and buy the exact same stuff all over again list. That list. I don't think so. This time maybe get a widescreen TV. You'll be occupied for a few weeks. Well, I have to file a claim. The things you own, they end up owning you. Don't I? Do what you like. Jack looks at his watch. God, it's late. I should find a hotel. A hotel? Yeah. So you called me because you just wanted to have a drink before you go find a hotel? I don't follow. We're on our third pitcher of beer. Just ask me. Huh? You called me so you could have a place to stay. No, Why don't you cut the shit and ask if you can stay at my place? Would that be a problem? Is it a problem for you to ask? Can I stay at your place? Yes, you can. Thank you. You're welcome. But I want you to do me one favor. What's that? I want you to hit me as hard as you can. What? I want you to hit me as hard as you can. Freeze picture. Let me tell you a little bit about Tyler Durden. We see its pornography, extremely close-up film frame. Jack in the foreground faces camera. In the background, Tyler sits at a bench looking at individual frames cut from movies. Near him, a projector rolls film. Tyler was a night person. He sometimes worked as a projectionist. A movie doesn't come in one big reel, it's on a few. In old theaters, 2 projectors are used, so someone has to change projectors at the last second when the one reel ends and another begins. Sometimes you can see 2 dots on the screen in the upper right-hand corner. Tyler points to the side of our frame and the 2 dots briefly appear on screen. They're called cigarette burns. It's called a changeover. The movie goes on and nobody in the audience has any idea. Why would anyone want this shitty job? It affords him other interesting opportunities, like splicing single frames from adult movies into family films. In Reel 3, right after the courageous dog and the snooty cag, who have celebrity voices, eat out of a garbage can, there's a flash of Tyler's contribution. In the audience, children suddenly start squirming, confused, and looking at each other. A woman abruptly stops sucking her soda straw, feeling vaguely terrible. Her uncomfortable husband slowly leans back in his seat. Jack and Tyler watch from the projection booth window. 1/48th of a second. That's how long it's up there. No one really knows that they've seen it, but they did. A nice big cock. Only a hummingbird could have caught Tyler at work. Tyler moves around one of many tables in a large banquet hall, setting down soup bowls. Jack stands in the same position, facing camera. Tyler also worked as a banquet waiter at the luxurious Pressman Hotel. The guests command the waiters with snaps of fingers. In a service elevator, Jack turns and we pan to Tyler, standing by a cart with a giant soup tureen. His hands are at his open fly, and he's in position to piss into the soup. He was the guerrilla terrorist of the food service industry. Don't watch. I can't if you watch. Jack waits. The sound of a stream of liquid is heard. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He farted on the meringue. He sneezed on the braised endive. And with cream of mushroom soup, well, go ahead. Say it. You get the idea. Tyler and Jack come out the back door. I don't know about this. I don't know either. I want to find out. I've never been hit, have you? No. That's a good thing, isn't it? I don't want to die without any scars. How much can you really know about yourself if you've never been in a fight? Come on, you're the only person I've ever asked. Me? Jack stares at him. Why not you? I'm letting you go first. Do it. This is crazy. All right, go crazy. Let her rip. Where do you want it? In the face? Surprise me. Jack swings a wide, clumsy roundhouse and hits Tyler's neck. Makes a dull, flat sound. Shit, sorry, that didn't count. Like hell that counted. Tyler shoots out a straight punch to Jack's chest. Jack falls back against a car. His eyes tear up. How do you feel? Strange. But a good strange. Is it? We've crossed the threshold. You want to call it off? Call off what? The fight. What fight? This fight, pussy. Jack swings another roundhouse that slams right under Tyler's ear. Tyler punches Jack in the stomach. Tyler and Jack move clumsily, throwing punches. They breathe heavier, drooling saliva and blood, growing dizzier from every impact. Jack and Tyler sit on the curb, watching sparse headlights on the nearby freeway. Their eyes are glazed with endorphin-induced serenity. They look at each other and laugh, and then look away. If you could fight anyone, one-on-one, whoever you wanted, who would you fight? Anyone? Jack thinks. My boss, probably. Who would you fight? My dad, no question. A long pause as Jack studies Tyler's face. Oh, yeah. I didn't know my dad. Well, I knew him till I was 6. He went and married another woman, had more kids. Every 6 years or so, he'd do it again. New city, new family. He was setting up franchises. My father never went to college, so it was really important that I go. I know that. After I graduated, I called him long distance and asked, now what? And he said, get a job. When I turned 25, I called him and asked, now what? He said, I don't know, get married. Same here. A generation of men raised by women. I'm wondering if another woman is the answer we really need. Another pause. Jack feels his bleeding lip and smiles. We should do this again sometime. Tyler cracks a smile and gives a sidelong glance to Jack. A street sign says Paper Street. A paper mill sits on one side, facing a lone house on the other. The rest of the land is grass and weeds. It's a grand old 3-story, long abandoned. Tyler leads Jack towards it. Where's your car? What car? I don't know how Tyler found the house, but he'd been there for half a year. Tyler leads Jack through the front door. It looked like it was waiting to be torn down. Most of the windows were boarded up. Tyler and Jack climb creaky stairs to the second-floor landing. None of the doors locked. The stairs were ready to collapse. I didn't know if he owned it or he was squatting. Tyler opens the door to a room. Jack enters, sits on the creaky bed. Dust drifts upwards. Neither would have surprised me. Jack turns on the water in the morning. Loud vibrations from the walls. Water spits and starts. Nothing worked. The rusty plumbing leaked. Turning out a light meant another light in the house went out. In Lou's Tavern parking lot, all the lights are off. Tyler and Jack fight. 5 guys stand around watching. Jack, his face showing new bruises and cuts, makes coffee with a wire mesh strainer in the kitchen. Tyler shuffles in, wearing a flannel bathrobe. He spears pieces of bread on a fork and starts roasting them over a burner. There were no neighbors, just warehouses and the paper mill. The fart smell of steam, the hamster cage smell of wood chips. Jack sits watching as Tyler swings an old golf club. Thwack. He sends a golf ball soaring down the desolate street. At night, Tyler and I were alone for half a mile in every direction. All the lights are off in Lou's Tavern parking lot. 10 guys yell, standing around Jack and Tyler, who fight. 3 cars are parked in the lot. Jack sits on basement stairs watching as Tyler, knee-deep in water, works at an open fuse box, flipping breakers in a certain order, showing Jack how it's done. When it rained, we had to kill the power. By the end of the first month, I didn't care about TV. I didn't mind the warm, stale refrigerator. Candles burn. Tyler and Jack are seated across from each other on the buckled floor reading magazines. Rain drips from the ceiling. No furniture. Thousands of magazines. The previous occupant had been a little bit of a shut-in. A new riot control grenade. The successful combination of concussive 3,000-foot candle flash blasts and simultaneous high-velocity disbursement of blah blah blah. Tyler begins ripping the article from his magazine. Jack from Reader's Digest. I am Joe's lungs. It's written in the first person. Without me, Joe could not take in oxygen to feed his red blood cells. There's a whole series. I am Joe's prostate. I get cancer, and I kill Joe. Tyler tosses his article in a pile of other articles and chooses another magazine. What are you reading? Soldier of Fortune, Business Week, New Republic. Show off. All the lights are off in Lou's Tavern parking lot. Jack and Tyler stand amidst 15 guys around 2 guys fighting. The crowd yells more wildly than before. In the background are 8 parked cars. I should have been haggling with my insurance company. I should have been looking for a new condo. Jack walks along a street at night. He stops and looks at a church with support group people milling around the entrance, drinking coffee and soda. Marla is there amongst them, smoking. I should have been upset about my nice, neat, flaming little shit. Jack's face shows no reaction. He continues to walk. But I wasn't. Jack, in work clothes, in the morning, interlocks his fingers and pops his knuckles. He picks up a saucepan with coffee and sips. Tyler, in a waiter's uniform, comes to have Jack straighten his tie. Most of the week, we were Ozzie and Harriet. Jack picks up his briefcase and walks out the door. But Wednesday night, every Wednesday night, at Lou's Tavern parking lot, all the lights are off. No one is around, but there are at least 25 cars in a full lot. We were finding something out. We were finding out more and more that we were not alone. In a conference room, a slideshow progresses, run by a chipper salesman, Walter. Jack sits deadpan with a puffy lip and a bruised cheek. Thursday mornings, all I could do was think about next week. His boss gives Jack a dubious look. Walter's next slide. A computer screen. A basic premise of cybernetting your office is making things more efficient. Can I get the icon in cornflower blue? Absolutely. Walter continues, his sales pitch drowned out by Jack's voiceover. Walter, the Microsoft account executive. Walter, with his smooth, soft hands. Maybe he was thinking about the free-range potluck he'd been to last weekend, or his church group car wash fundraiser. Or probably not. Walter moves to Jack and slaps him on the shoulder. I showed this to my man here. You liked it, didn't you? Jack smiles. His teeth are red with blood. They glow eerily in the dim light. You can swallow a pint of blood before you get sick. Jesus, I'd hate to see what happened to the other guy. Jack keeps the smile frozen on his face. Screw Walter. His candy ass wouldn't last a second on Wednesday night. Out of the silent darkness of Lou's Tavern, headlights appear from all directions. Cars pull up and park in the already packed lot. Young men get out and march into the tavern. The men, including Jack and Tyler, enter and stand against the back wall waiting. The bartender, Irvine, calls out, "Drink up, people. We're closing." Irvine flicks on the lights. Drunken customers squint and get the message. They plop down money and leave. It was right in everyone's face. Tyler and I just made it visible. Irvine hits a button and the jukebox loses power. Members of the waiting army begin to share secret looks. Finally, one guy locks the door and two other guys close the blinds. It was on the tip of everyone's tongue. Tyler and I just gave it a name. In the tavern basement, a bomb shelter, concrete walls, one bare light bulb above, Tyler standing directly beneath it. "Welcome to Fight Club." The guys mill around, finding partners. Everyone brims with eagerness but tries to act cool. Chatter gets louder. Everyone spreads out, forming a circle. Tyler is at the center. Every week, Tyler gave the rules that he and I had decided. Peaking chatter until Tyler raises his arms and the chatter dies. A couple of coughs, feet shuffling, and then silence. "The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The third rule of Fight Club is when someone says stop or goes limp, the fight is over. Fourth rule is only two guys to a fight. Fifth rule, one fight at a time. Sixth rule, no shirts, no shoes. Seventh rule, fight goes on as long as they have to. And the eighth and final rule, if this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight." Tyler steps back. A short guy, Ricky, and a goateed man take off shirts and shoes and step to the center. This kid, Ricky, supply clerk, couldn't remember whether you ordered pens with blue ink or black ink. The two fighters circle and then begin throwing punches. But Ricky was a god for 10 minutes last week when he trounced an actuary twice his size. Harder, faster punches between the two. Sweat flies. Shouts become deafening. Ricky is getting the best of the goateed man, pounding him. Sometimes all you could hear were the flat, hard packing sounds over the yelling, or the wet choke when someone catches their breath and sprays, with spittle on his lips. "Stop!" Jack is eating lunch at an Office Park restaurant. He watches the broken-nosed waiter with a goatee, from the fight before, converse with the maitre d'. Even if I could tell someone they had a good fight, I wouldn't be talking to the same man. The goateed waiter approaches Jack and sets a refill soda down on the table. The two of them make brief eye contact. Who you were in Fight Club is not who you were in the rest of the world. Jack stands over a copy machine. Hit by flashes of light, he glances over his shoulder and watches Ricky, wearing an apron, pushing a supply cart. Ricky nods at Jack. You weren't alive anywhere like you were there. But Fight Club only exists in the hours when the Fight Club starts and when Fight Club ends. Jack, playing solitaire on his computer, dabs blood on his mouth with a handkerchief. His boss, passing by, looks at Jack irritated. "What are you getting yourself into every week?" Jack keeps playing solitaire. The boss enters and folds his arms. After Fight Club, everything else in your life gets the volume turned down. You can deal with anything. "Have you finished those reports?" Jack hands him the reports. "Yes." The people who had power over you had less and less. Jack looks at his boss. Reflexively, Jack's tongue plays with his teeth. By this point, I could wiggle most of the teeth in my jaw. Tyler and Jack walk, both smoking cigarettes, on the street at dusk. A guy came to Fight Club for the first time. His ass was a wad of cookie dough. After a few weeks, he was carved out of wood. If you could fight any celebrity, alive or dead, doesn't matter. Hemingway. You? Shatner. William Shatner. They reach a bus stop. The bus arrives, tossing their cigarettes and getting on board. The bus is crowded. As Tyler and Jack walk toward the back, Jack studies the faces of other passengers. We all started seeing things differently, wherever we went. They hold hand grips. Jack looks up at an advertisement, a Calvin Klein ad featuring a tan, bare-chested muscle stud. I felt sorry for all the guys packing into gyms, trying to look like Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger said they should. Tyler looks at Jack and looks at the CK advertisement. Self-improvement is masturbation. Self-destruction is the answer. A man in a suit knocks Tyler's shoulder as he passes. The man takes a handle close by. Jack is pissed and stares at the man, who stares back. Jack to Tyler so the man can hear. You could take him. Tyler looks to Jack and glances over his shoulder at the man. Tyler casually picks a small scab off of Jack's nostril. The trick is not to care. Tyler stares forward. Tyler hits the floor in the tavern basement stomach first. His opponent lands on top of him, grappling, trying for a chokehold. The surrounding crowd, Jack included, screams at them. Tyler and the opponent wrestle desperately, and Tyler flips his attacker and gets on top, sprawling to pin him. Tyler turns and starts raining punches onto the opponent's groin. Jack lands a couple of blows to his opponent's stomach, brings up a left uppercut to smash his jaw. Tiny spatters of blood adorn the walls along with the sweat. Jack catches sight of a swollen-faced Tyler, watching appreciatively, a smile growing slowly on his face. Fight Club wasn't about winning or losing. It wasn't about words. The opponent recovers and throws a headlock on Jack. Jack snakes his arm into a counter headlock. They wrestle like wild animals. The crowd cheers maniacally. The hysterical shouting was in tongues, like at a Pentecostal church. Onlookers kneel to stay with the fight, cheering louder. The opponent smashes Jack's head to the floor over and over. Stop! When the fight was over, nothing was solved, but nothing mattered. Everyone moves in as the opponent steps away. Tyler pushes through the crowd. Others lift Jack up. They turn their attention to the floor, to the blood mask of Jack's face, similar to the tear mask on Bob's shirt. Cool. Jack limply shakes his opponent's hand. How about next week? Look at me. How about next month? Everyone helps Jack walk. He's sweating, bleeding, and smiling. Afterwards, we all felt saved. A nurse tends to Jack while Tyler watches in a hospital emergency room. He fell down some stairs. The nurse doesn't look at Tyler. She just keeps tending to Jack. I fell down some stairs. Sometimes Tyler spoke for me. Tyler and Jack share the cracked mirror in the bathroom. Tyler is clipping at his hair with ill-suited scissors. Jack is brushing his teeth, spitting out pink foam. Fight Club became the reason to cut your hair short and trim your fingernails. Any historical figure. Okay, Gandhi. Good answer. You? Abe Lincoln. Big reach. Skinny guys fight until they burger. Jack reaches in his mouth, exploring, and yanks out a tooth. Jack looks at it and puts his scissors down. Remember, even the Mona Lisa is falling apart. Jack drops the tooth in the sink with Tyler's hair. Jack enters, buttoning his shirt, into the kitchen in late afternoon. The phone rings. Hello? Marla is in the hall on a payphone in her building, twisting the phone cord around her neck. Where have you been the last few weeks? Marla? Jack looks through the archway and sees Tyler in his gummy flannel bathrobe doing sit-ups. Jack leans and cups the phone. "How did you find me?" "The forwarding number. I haven't seen you at any support groups." "That's the idea, we split them." "You haven't been going to yours." I found a new one." "Really? It's for men. Like testicular cancer?" "Look, this is a bad time. I've been going to Debtors Anonymous. You want to see some truly fucked up people?" I'm just on my way out." "Me too. I got a stomach full of Xanax. I took what was left of the bottle. Might have been too much." Jack looks exasperated. He turns to look into the camera. Picture yourself watching Marla Singer throw herself around her crummy apartment. "This isn't a for-real suicide thing. This is probably one of those cry-for-help things." This could go on for hours. "So you're staying in tonight?" "Do you want to wait to hear me describe death?" Jack puts the handset on top of the phone, still off the hook, and walks out the back door. "Do you want to listen to see if my spirit can use the telephone?" Through the archway, Tyler leans in to look, curious. In the bedroom, late at night, grunts of pleasure and exertion. Glimpses of torsos, asses, legs, arms, breasts, and female hair, all drenched in sweat. Sheets rip, bodies hit the floor. Insane grunting and laughing. A flash of Marla's face. Jack sits up in bed at sunrise and looks around the room. The second-floor landing. The door is closed. Tyler's door was closed. I'd been living here for 2 months, and Tyler's door was never closed. Jack stares into the toilet, looking at 6 used condoms. Jack sits at the table, sipping coffee and reading Reader's Digest. He hears footsteps approaching. "You're not going to believe what I dreamt last night." Marla walks in, straightening her dress, looking like she's been raped by a hurricane. Jack's jaw drops. "I can hardly believe anything about last night." Marla goes to pour coffee. She takes a swig, gargles, and spits it into the sink. She gives Jack a lascivious smile. "What are you doing here?" "What? What the hell are you doing here?" Marla stares at him a beat and then drops the cup in the sink. "Fuck you." Marla shoves open the door to the backyard and walks out. Jack gets up and watches her stomp away. Jack turns. Tyler is at his shoulder, staring at Marla. He's in his usual sweatpants. He grins at Jack and then moves away and pours himself coffee. Jack, smoldering, slumps at a table and picks up Reader's Digest. Tyler puts his foot on a countertop and does stretching exercises. "She's a piece of work. Get this, I come in here last night, the phone is off the hook." Jack pretends to read, quickly glances at Tyler. Tyler's voice fades. "I already knew the story before he told it to me." Tyler enters the kitchen and gently lifts the handset and listens. Marla's voice. "I'll tell you when I'm floating out of my body." Tyler smiles. How could Tyler, of all people, think it was a bad thing that Marla Singer was about to die? Marla's on the 8th floor landing late afternoon. Tyler, a wry smile on his face, ambles up the stairs, looking at the rotting walls. He reaches the top of the stairs and heads for Marla's room. Before he can knock, Marla's hand shoots out and grabs him. Marla pulls Tyler inside and shuts the door. Her drugged eyes look him over. "You got here fast." She staggers and sits on the bed. She slides off along with the blanket and sheet on the floor. "The mattresses are all sealed in slippery plastic." She tries to focus her eyes on Tyler. "Did I call you?" Tyler studies her with cynical curiosity, looks at a dildo lying atop a dresser. Marla follows his gaze. "Don't worry, it's not a threat to you." Sirens and vehicles screeching outside can be heard. Doors opening and slamming and running footfalls. Oh no, someone called the cops. She gets to her feet and grabs Tyler, pulls him out the door. Marla locks her door and then pulls Tyler towards the staircase. Cops and paramedics charge up with oxygen and medical kits. Marla and Tyler flatten against the wall to let them pass. 8G, where's 8G? Marla points. Into the hall. The rescuers keep running. The girl who lives there used to be a charming, lovely girl, but she's lost faith in herself. Miss Singer, let us help you. You have every reason to live. Marla yanks Tyler's arm and heads down the stairs. She's a monster. Infectious human waste. Good luck trying to save her. Tyler makes coffee in the kitchen. Marla slouches against the refrigerator. If I fall asleep, I'm done for. You're gonna have to keep me up all night. Tyler chuckles and shakes his head, resuming regular time. Unbelievable, huh? He was obviously able to handle it. Tyler stands across from Jack and gets a cigarette from his pack. I mean, this girl. You're not into her or anything. No, not at all. I'm a Jack's raging bile duct. Tyler lights his cigarette. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Good. This chick was up on the table with her legs in the stirrups before the doctor even walked into the room. The things that she said. I've never heard a woman talk like that. Tyler smokes. Post-coital. Marla puts her lips to his ear. I want to have your abortion. Tyler laughs and shakes his head. Jack is gripping his Reader's Digest just a little too tight. How could Tyler not go for that? Night before last, he was splicing sex organs into the Little Mermaid. Tyler sits and studies Jack's face. You're okay with this? I'm fine. Put a gun to my head and paint the wall with my brains. Tyler smokes. She is a wild, twisted bitch. Stay away from that one. Oh, and my pace is more for librarians. Hey, don't knock librarians. Marla doesn't need a lover. She needs a caseworker. She needs an exorcist. This isn't love. This is sport fucking. She had invaded my support groups. Now she was invading my home. Listen, do me a favor. Sit here a minute. Tyler pulls out a closer chair and motions to it. Jack puts down his Reader's Digest and moves to the chair. What? You gotta understand something about me. I have a little rule, okay? Don't ever talk to her about me. Ever. I can't stand that kind of shit. Tyler fixes Jack with a friendly but firm stare. If you ever say anything about me, or about what happens in this house to her or anyone, I will find out, and you'll never see me again. Promise me. Okay, promise me you won't. Yes, I promise. Promise? I said I promise! That was 3 times you promised. Tyler smiles, gets up, and leaves. Jack sits smoldering. If only I had wasted a couple of minutes and gone to watch Marla die, none of this would have happened. Jack watches TV at high volume. The sounds of sex are upstairs. Jack lies calmly on his bed staring at the ceiling. Sounds of thumps and crashes from beyond the wall. Marla's voice. Miserable fucking discharge! I could have moved to another room, one on the 3rd floor, so I wouldn't have heard them, but I didn't. Sounds of rain. Jack flips fuses off and then walks upstairs. Jack walks on the 2nd floor landing and hears Marla screaming in orgasm. He reaches the landing. Tyler's door is ajar. Jack peeks in. Marla's legs are sprawled on the bed. The door pushes open wider. Tyler, naked, stands close to the camera. What are you doing? Jack steps back. I was just going to bed. Tyler scratches his head wearing a rubber glove. You want to finish her off? Nah. Jack continues towards his room. Jack brushes his teeth. I became the calm little center of the world. I was the Zen master. Close up on a computer monitor, a haiku is being typed in a trendy italicized font. Worker bees can leave. Even drones can fly away. The queen is their slave. I wrote little haiku poems. Jack's clothes are permanently stained with blood. He sits in a Zen pose, cigarette in mouth, and finishes typing his haiku. I faxed them around to everyone. He hits send and gets the error chime. He presses the key over and over. The boss enters. Is that your blood? Some of it, yes. The boss stares at Jack like he's from Mars. Take the rest of the day off. Come back tomorrow with clean clothes. Get yourself together. Jack is leaving. He looks like a war casualty, passing coworkers who coldly stare at him. His face is totally passive. I got right in everyone's hostile little face. Yes, these were bruises from fighting. I'm comfortable with it. I am enlightened. Jack walks towards the house on Paper Street. You give up the condo life, give up all your flaming worldly possessions, go live in a dilapidated house in the toxic waste part of town. Jack walks into the kitchen. Sounds of violent sex and a Polaroid camera from upstairs. Pieces of plaster falling from the ceiling. And you come home to this. You fucking slut! Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Jack rolls his eyes and takes off his pants. He runs water in the sink and finds a tiny bit of soap and scrubs at the bloodstains. The phone rings. He answers it. Yeah, speaking. Intercut with a cop, Detective Stern, referring to a file. This is Detective Stern with the arson unit. We have some new information about the incident at your condo. Yes. I don't know if you're aware, but your front door, it seems someone sprayed Freon into the lock and tapped into it with a chisel to shatter the cylinder. No, I wasn't aware. I am Jack's cold sweat. Does this sound strange to you? Yes, sir. Strange, very strange. Jack starts to sweat and scrubs his pants obsessively. The dynamite... Dynamite? Yes, it left a residue of ammonium oxalate and potassium perchloride. Do you know what that means? What does that mean? It means it was homemade. This is really a shock. Whoever set up this homemade dynamite could have blown out the pilot light days before the explosion. The gas, it seems, was just a detonator. Who do you think could have done this? I'll ask the questions, son. Tyler whispers in his ear. Tell him. Jack almost leaps out of his skin, startled to see Tyler standing right next to him. Huh? The liberator who destroyed my property has realigned my paradigm of perception. Shh! Jack overlaps. I don't know what to make of this, sir. I really don't. Do you know anyone who has expertise or motive to do something like this? I reject the basic assumptions of civilization, including material possession. Jack pushes Tyler away and cups the receiver. No, sir. I love that condo. I loved every stick of furniture, the lamps, the chairs, the rugs. They were me. The dishes, they were me. The plants... I'd like to thank the Academy. Well, if any ideas come to you, give me a call. In the meantime, don't leave town. I may need to bring you in for questioning. Jack hangs up. Tyler shrugs. Could be worse. You could be cursed with the 3 terrible karmas. You could be beautiful, rich, and famous. Jack turns away and continues to scrub his pants. Marla's footsteps can be heard coming downstairs. Jack really grinds the soap into the pants, splashing water. He turns and sees Marla enter, but Tyler is gone. Marla lights a cigarette. Except for the humping, Tyler and Marla were never in the same room. I got this dress at a thrift store for $1. He keeps scrubbing. Worth every penny. My parents pulled this exact act for years. One came in, the other disappeared. Marla begins a slow, exotic dance, moving very close to Jack. She lifts her dress dangerously high, dancing close to Jack's body, almost touching. Seductively. It's a bridesmaid dress. Someone loved it intensely for one day and then tossed it. Like a Christmas tree. So special. And then, bam, it's abandoned on the side of the road, tinsel still clinging to it. Jack becomes very aware of having no pants on, pressed up against the counter. Marla pulls her hemline further up. Like sex crime victims, underwear inside out, bound with electrical tape. It suits you. She leans in very close to Jack's ear, whispers hoarsely, You can borrow it sometime. Jack takes a step away and keeps scrubbing. Marla blows smoke in his face. Jack takes her cigarette and throws it in the sink. Marla backs away, fed up, and storms out, going upstairs. Get rid of her. Jack turns to see Tyler in the doorway. You get rid of her. Don't mention me. Marla's footsteps are coming downstairs. Jack looks to the archway, and then back. Tyler is gone. Marla enters, shoes and balled-up clothing under one arm, looking for something on the junk-strewn table. I am 6 years old again, passing messages between my parents. I think you should go now. Marla ignores, still searching the table, tossing things, pushing other things off onto the floor. It's time for you to leave. Don't worry, I'm leaving. Marla finds what she wants, a pack of cigarettes. She moves up into Jack's face. You're such a nutcase. I can't even begin to keep up. Goodbye. She laughs and spins on her heels. As she exits the back door, she sings This Merry-Go-Round from Valley of the Dolls. Jack watches her through the kitchen window. Nice work. Jack turns. Tyler is right behind him. Through the window, Marla can be seen walking away. Tyler picks up the remnant of soap Jack has been using and holds it up to Jack. To make soap, first we have to render fat. Jack looks up at Tyler. Close-up sign, danger, biohazard. Fenced-in biohazard waste dump site at night. Tyler stands inside the fence. Jack is atop the fence, struggling to cross barbed wire. He wobbles, gets over, and snags his shirt. Jack falls. Rip. Tyler helps. Footsteps, a flashlight beam. Tyler pulls Jack behind a dumpster, one of dozens. A silhouette of a security guard moves along the perimeter, flashlight first. He walks away. Move back to Tyler and Jack, who emerge from hiding. Tyler eagerly grabs the lid of the closest dumpster. The best fat for making soap, because the salt balance is just right. It comes from human bodies. Tyler lifts the lid. It creaks. What is this place? A liposuction clinic. From the dumpster, Tyler pulls out an industrial-sized, thick plastic bag full of pink goo. Pay dirt. From society's richest asses and thighs. Tyler and Jack climb back over the fence carrying bags of fat. One of Jack's bags rips, spilling the goo down the chain-link fence. Jack slips and slides. Tyler laughs. Tyler tries to scoop the running fat back into the bag. Jack and Tyler each stir a boiling pot in the kitchen at night. As the fat renders, the tallow floats to the surface. Remember the crap they taught you in Boy Scouts? Hard to imagine you in Boy Scouts. This clear layer is glycerin. We'll mix it back in when we make the soap. Tyler sticks a spoon into the pot and lifts up a scoop of the glycerin layer. Then he grabs a can and opens it. Lye, the crucial ingredient. He adds lie to the mix. Ancient peoples found their clothes got cleaner if they washed them at a specific spot in the river. Why? Because human sacrifices were once made on the hills above this river. Year after year, bodies burned. Rain fell. Water seeped through the wood ashes to become lye. The lye combined with the melted fat of the bodies till a thick white soapy discharge crept into the river. Tyler licks his lips until they're gleaming wet. He takes Jack's hand and kisses the back of it. The first soap was made from the ashes of heroes, like the first monkey shot into space. The saliva shines in the shape of a kiss. Tyler pours a bit of the flaked lye onto Jack's hand. Without sacrifice, without death, we have nothing. Jack's whole body jerks. Tyler holds tight to Jack's hand and arm. Tears well in Jack's eyes. His face tightens. This is a chemical burn. It will hurt more than you've ever been burned, and you will have a scar. Jack looks. The burn is swollen, glossy, and in the shape of Tyler's kiss. Jack's face spasms. Tyler's kiss was a bonfire on the back of my hand. Look at your hand. Guided meditation worked for cancer. It could work for this. Shot of a green maple leaf glistening with dew. And then Tyler looks at Jack's glazed and detached eyes. Come back to the pain. Don't shut this out. Jack, snapping back, tries to jerk his hand away. Tyler keeps hold of it, and their arms knock utensils off the tables. I tried not to think of the words searing or flesh. I imagined my pain as a ball of healing white light. Shot in a forest in gentle spring rainfall. Tyler jerks Jack's hand, getting his attention. Stop it! This is your pain. Your burning hand, it's right here. Look at it. I was going to my cave to find my power animal. Shot of the inside of Jack's frozen ice cave. Tyler jerks Jack's hand again. Jack refocuses on Tyler. Don't deal with this the way that dead people do. Deal with it the way a living person does. Back in the ice cave, Marla, lying naked under a fur coat, turning her head to look towards us. Resume, Jack trying to pull his hand free, but Tyler won't let go. Jack's eyes glaze over again. Jack speaks, whiny from pain. I think I understand. I think I get it. No, what you're feeling is premature enlightenment. Shot of a green forest without rain. Tyler slaps Jack's face, regaining his attention. This is the greatest moment of your life, and you're off somewhere missing it. No, I'm not. Shots of trees engulfed by a forest fire. Shut up! Our fathers were our models for God, and if our fathers bailed, what does that tell us about God? I don't know. Shots of embers pouring from the hellish forest fire. Resume. Tyler slaps Jack's face again. Listen to me. You have to consider the possibility that God doesn't like you. He never wanted you. In all probability, he hates you. This is not the worst thing that can happen. It isn't. We don't need him. We don't? Back in the cave, Marla pulls Jack down on top of her. Jack kisses her. Cigarette smoke comes from her mouth. Jack coughs. Jack is now a wide-eyed zombie. Marla? Fuck damnation. Fuck redemption. We are God's unwanted children, with no special place and no attention, so be it. Jack looks at Tyler. They lock eyes. Jack does his best to stifle his spasms of pain. His body quivering, coiled knot. He bolts towards the sink, but Tyler holds on. You can go to the sink and run water over your hand. Look at me! Or you can use vinegar to neutralize the burn. But first, you have to give up. First, you have to know that someday you are going to die. Unless you know that, you'll be useless. Jack spasms with a shiver of pain. You don't know what this feels like, Tyler. Tyler shows Jack a lie-burned kiss scar on his own hand. Tears begin to drip from Jack's eye. Tyler grabs a bottle of vinegar and pours it over Jack's wound. Jack closes his eyes, holds his hand, and slumps to the floor. Congratulations. You're a step closer to hitting bottom. Jack and Tyler stand in a department store in trench coats, looking like death warmed over. Wait as a buyer fills out forms. There are bars of the Paper Street Soap Company soap on the counter. Jack looked like he's half expecting to get arrested. His hand is bandaged. Tyler sold the soap to department stores at $20 a year. God knows what they charged. How ironic. We were selling rich women their own fat asses back to them. Jack sits at his desk at his office, playing a game on his computer, smoking a cigarette. His boss enters. He was wearing a yellow tie. It must be Thursday. I didn't even wear a tie to work anymore. Boss slaps a piece of paper down on Jack's desk. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. Jack snuffs his cigarette in an ashtray, stares up stoically. I must have left the original in the copy machine. The second rule of Fight Club... Is this yours? You don't get paid to abuse the copy machine. Abuse the copy machine. There's an image. Pretend you're me. You find this. What would you do? Jack rises slowly and walks to his door and shuts it. Me? I'd be very careful who I talk to about this. It sounds like someone dangerous wrote it. Someone who might snap at any moment. Stalking from office to office with an Armalite AR-10 carbine gas semi-automatic, bitterly pumping round after round into colleagues and coworkers. Jack moves very close to his boss, picks up the paper, and starts tearing it into pieces. Might be someone you've known for years, someone very close to you. Or maybe, you shouldn't be bringing me every little piece of trash you pick up. Jack puts the paper in his trash. His boss stares with a tinge of outrage and a tinge of fear. The phone rings. Jack answers it. Compliance and liability. My tits are going to rot off. Just a second. To his boss. Could you excuse me? I need to take this call. His boss goes to the door, stares at Jack for a beat, and then leaves. What are you talking about? Would you do something for me? I need you to check and see if there's a lump in my breast. I can't afford to throw away money on a doctor. I don't know. Please. She didn't call Tyler. I'm neutral in her book. Jack walks down the sidewalk of Marla's hotel and sees Marla take 2 boxes from a van with a sign Meals on Wheels. Marla leads Jack inside. There's a sweet side of you, picking these up for Mrs. Hanover and Mrs. Raines. Where are they? Tragically, they're dead. I'm alive and I'm in poverty. You want any? No thanks. Good. He stares at her while she eats. What happened to your hand? Jack awkwardly puts his bandaged hand behind his back. Nothing. Marla stands facing a mirror with her shirt open. Jack stands behind her with his hands on the bottom side of her breast. Marla's hand guides his. Where? Here? Here. There? Here. Here. Feel anything? No. Jack's head is behind Marla's. They grow softer and slower. Make sure. Okay, I'm sure. You feel nothing. Nothing. Marla turns around and faces him, begins to button her shirt. Well, that's a relief. Thank you. No problem. I wish I could return the favor. Jack touches his own chest and shakes his head. I think everything's okay here. I could check your prostate. Nah. Well, thanks anyway. Marla leans to kiss him, lingers for a bit longer than just friendly, and Jack pulls away. So, are we done? Marla sighs. Yeah, we're done. See you around. Jack emerges from the lobby. He looks up at Marla's window and watches her silhouette. He walks right into Big Bob, the moose, eating a donut and drinking orange juice. Cornelius, how are you? Bob, I'm okay. How are you? Better than I've ever been in my life. Really? Great. Still remaining men together? An intense look of born-again fervor comes over Bob's face. No, I found something new. Really? What's that? Well, the first rule is you aren't supposed to talk about it. Oh, and the second rule about it is you're not supposed to talk about it. And the third rule, Bob, I'm a member. You are? Look at my face. Bob roughly slaps Jack's shoulder. That's fucking great, man. Congratulations. Yeah, both of us. You know about the guy who invented it? I hear all sorts of things. Supposedly he was born in a mental institution. They say he only sleeps 1 hour a night. You know this guy? Tyler Durden? In the basement of an electronics warehouse, the crowd screams insanely as Jack and Bob go at it in a circle of light. Bob's eyes are wild with glee. Everyone sneaks out of this new location. We've never seen these guys before. It's a new chapter. Jack and Bob stagger out last, Jack being in worse shape. They both grin with religious serenity. Bob hugs Jack. Thank you, thank you. Bob relaxes his hug and Jack drops to the ground like a sack, completely enervated from the beating he took. You're welcome. Fight Club. This was mine and Tyler's gift. Our gift to the world. Jack has his briefcase on the kitchen table, looking at paperwork. Tyler wanders in, carrying a dirty pot to the sink. Jack takes out a cigarette. He offers the pack to Tyler, who says, No thanks, I quit. You quit? Yeah, where you headed? Work, going to work. Tyler scratches his chin absently. What? Nothing. Do what you like. Tyler walks out the way he came. Jack sits staring at his screensaver at his office. He steps into the open doorway and knocks on his boss's doorframe. His boss looks up from his large, expensive desk. We need to talk. Okay, where to begin? With your constant absenteeism, with your unpresentable appearance? You're up for review. I am Jack's complete lack of surprise. Bob sits up in his seat, becoming enraged. Let's pretend you're the Department of Transportation, and you discover that our company intentionally did nothing about leather seats cured in third world countries with chemicals we know cause birth defects, brake lining that fails after 1,000 miles, fuel injectors that burn people alive. Just who the fuck do you think you are? Get out, you're fired. What about this? Keep me on payroll as an outside consultant. In exchange for my salary, I'll keep my mouth shut. I won't need to come into the office. I can do this job from home. The boss stands and moves around his desk, glaring with rage. You little fucker, I oughta... Jack punches himself in the nose. Blood starts to trickle. He punches himself in the jaw and throws himself back as if by the force of the punch. He slams against a framed picture and shatters the glass. He falls to the floor. I am Jack's smirking revenge. Jack gets back to his feet. Please don't hit me again. Please, I'm your responsibility. He punches himself in the stomach and then in the jaw again. He reels backwards, pulling down a hanging shelf, its contents flying. He hits the floor. For some reason, I thought of my first fight with Tyler. Jack crawls towards the boss, dripping blood, and grabs his boss's leg. Please, give me the paychecks like I asked for. I won't be any trouble. You won't see me again. Jack climbs up his boss's leg while his boss tries to shake him off. He stumbles back into his desk and knocks off belongings. Under and behind, inside everything this man took for granted, something horrible has been growing. Jack crawls high enough to grab the boss's belt, hoisting himself up. He dribbles blood on the boss's clothing, smudges it on his face and onto the knuckles of his hands. Please, please! And right there, at our most excellent moment together, 2 security guards enter and gape at the sight. Behind them stand curious workers looking in. Jack gurgling blood. Please don't hit me again. Jack holds a check in front of Tyler's face. 6 months advanced pay. 6 months. Fucking sweet. And Jack digs in his pocket and takes out a thick bundle of cards. 48 airline flight coupons, plus, hold on a minute. Jack holds up a finger and goes to open the front door. He drags an unwieldy shopping cart behind him filled with his computer, phone, fax, and other office equipment. I am now officially self-employed. Jack looks at the cart, then back at Tyler, proud. Good for you. Lou's tavern basement is loud. An enormous crowd of guys, including Jack and Bob, stand around Tyler, who's in the center of the circle, holding up his hands to quiet them. I look around and I see a lot of new faces. An enthusiastic rumble from the crowd. Shut up! Which means a lot of you have been breaking the first 2 rules of Fight Club. A glum silence falls. Guys look at each other. I see in Fight Club the strongest and smartest men who have ever lived. An entire generation pumping gas and waiting tables. Or they're slaves with white collars. Advertisements have them chasing cars and clothes, working jobs they hate so they can buy shit they don't need. We are the middle children of history with no purpose or place. We have no Great War or Great Depression. The Great War is a spiritual war. The Great Depression is our lives. We were raised by television to believe that we'd be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. And we're learning that fact, and we're very, very pissed off. The crowd erupts into a deafening chorus of agreement. Jack looks at the blazing excitement in the eyes of the crowd. We are the quiet young men who listen until it's time to decide. A fat middle-aged man stomps down the stairs, pushing into the crowd, followed by a tall, hefty thug who holds a gun. Who are you? Who am I? There's a sign on the front that says Lou's Tavern. I'm fucking Lou. Who the fuck are you? Tyler Durden. Tyler extends his hand for a shake, but Lou slaps it away. Who told you motherfuckers you could use my place? We have a deal worked out with Irvine. Irvine? Irvine's at home with a broken collarbone. Everyone glances guiltily at each other. He doesn't own this place, I do. How much money is he getting for this? There's no money. Really? It's free to all. Ain't that something? Yes, it is. Now look, stupid fuck. I want everyone out of here now. You're welcome to join our club. Did you hear what I just said? You and your friend. Lou slugs Tyler in the stomach and doubles him over. You hear me now? Tyler gains his breath, determined. He looks up and turns his head, looking to Jack. Jack watches wide-eyed. Tyler straightens, facing Lou. No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Lou punches Tyler in the face. Some of the guys move forward, but the thug points his gun. Jack runs forward anyway, and Lou punches him in the face. More guys move forward, but Tyler waves them off, facing Lou. We really need to use this place. Lou proceeds to beat the shit out of Tyler, punching his face, his stomach. Tyler collapses to the floor. Lou starts kicking him. Tyler bleeds from the mouth and face. That's it, that's good. Get it all out, you'll feel better. Lou flushes red with exasperation. He kicks more. Finally, sweating, bewildered, Lou stops. He looks to the thug, who is just as bewildered. Suddenly, Tyler springs up and grabs onto Lou. Yes, I am shit and crazy. To you and this whole fucking world. Tyler's blood spatters on Lou. Lou tries to shake Tyler off, but Tyler bites Lou's necktie. The thug grabs Tyler and pulls. The necktie tightens and strangles Lou. Lou slaps at Tyler's face but recoils from the blood. Tyler spits and shouts through clenched teeth, "You don't know where I've been!" Tyler bear hugs Lou and pulls him to the floor. Tyler rubs his bloody face into Lou's face. The thug lifts Tyler. Tyler clings to Lou's belt, dragging Lou as he is dragged. "We need this place! We need it! Please let us keep it, please!" Blood dribbles out of Tyler's mouth, spattering Lou. "What are you doing? Please! Okay. Fuck it, use the basement. Get off of me!" "We need some towels, Lou. We need replacement light bulbs." "All right, Christ fucking let me go." Thank you, sir. Let go of me." Tyler lets go of Lou's belt, and Lou scrambles away. The thug drops Tyler, trying to keep clear of the blood. Lou gets to his feet, looks at Tyler, then at the rest of the guys. He and the thug back away, slamming the door behind. Fight Club surrounds Tyler. They help him up and move him to a crate. Tyler sits slumped for a long moment, his breathing labored. Then he sits back, crossing his legs, and looks to the group, his demeanor businesslike. "This week, each of you has a homework assignment. You're going to go out and start a fight with a total stranger." He pauses and drools blood. "You're going to start a fight, and you're going to lose." Jack beams in appreciation. Ricky trips a passing yuppie. The yuppie falls. Not as easy as it sounds. People do just about anything to avoid a fight. The yuppie gets angry and Ricky punches him. What the hell are you doing? Who are you?" The yuppie backs away and Ricky follows him. "Get away from me! Keep away! No!" Ricky tackles the yuppie. The yuppie struggles spastically. "Who are you? Why are you attacking me?" Having no recourse, the yuppie begins trading blows. A mechanic with a battered face uses a hose to wash the sidewalk. As men passes, he jerks the hose up and sprays them. "Hey! Watch out, jackass!" These men continue on their way. The mechanic sprays a third man, a seminary student, who looks down, stunned. You did that on purpose." The mechanic douses the seminarian. The seminarian grabs the hose and wrestles the mechanic. The mechanic shoves the seminarian, who responds with a half-assed punch. The mechanic purposely takes it. The seminarian starts to run away. The mechanic sprints after him, punching him in the back of the neck, and they fight. A record store stockroom. A fist smashes a jaw. Guys cheer. An arm snakes around a neck and squeezes. Blood and sweat dripping. It's the yuppie and the seminarian fighting. Tyler walks around the perimeter of the circle. Now, nobody was the center of the fight club except the two men fighting. The leader walked around in the crowd out in the darkness. Tyler hands envelopes to the crowd. Everyone took a homework assignment. Ricky and another fight clubber paste up a billboard which reads, "Did you know you can use your old motor oil to fertilize your lawn? Environmental Protection Agency." Paper Street House. Hands use a marker writing on a file, "Disinformation." Jack and Tyler in work gloves armed with tools work together to lift the entire metal plate of exit spikes from the ground in a parking lot. They reverse it and then replace it. Jack and Tyler work away, each carrying a 4x4 plank of wood. "I heard there's a fight club in Delaware City." "I heard Local 15 Monday nights." As they pass parked cars, they swing the planks against the front bumpers, activating alarms and inflating airbags. Local 8 just started in Penn's Grove. Bob said he was at a fight club in Newcastle last week. Newcastle? Did you start that one? I thought you did. In the background, a car quickly exits the parking lot, front tires exploding, wheel rims throwing sparks. Father, mother, young daughter, and son eat dinner in a family household, watching TV. Suddenly, the TV image turns to snow and static. They all stop eating. Father picks up the remote and points it, but all the channels are snow. He turns the TV off. He and his family members look at each other, utensils in hand, uncomfortable. On the city rooftops, the yuppie swings a baseball bat and destroys a digital satellite dish. The yuppie and the seminarian move on, climbing to a neighboring rooftop. They come upon another. He takes the bat and swings. Hands place news clippings into a file. Mischief. 2 airplane maintenance men with bruised faces rip open a box from a print shop in an airplane cabin. They dig up airplane safety instruction cards and begin inserting them into each seat back. We see a card. It shows passengers screaming and flailing about in terror. Inside of a huge business office at night, rows and rows of desks. Fight Club members work. One guy is moving computer monitor to computer monitor, using a drill to put holes into the top of each one. Another guy follows behind with funnels and cans of gasoline, filling each monitor with gas. Files and newspaper clippings are piled up. Hands write on a new folder, arson. The yuppie crumbles a loaf of stale bread into a bucket, stirring it with a big spoon and mixing it with a bottle of X-Lax. Nearby, Rob throws handfuls of wet breadcrumbs to pigeons. Hundreds of pigeons, a rooftop feeding frenzy. Jack and Tyler cross the parking lot towards the convenience store. Jack wears a backpack. "Let me have that a minute." Tyler takes the backpack, unzips it, and searches the contents. "What are we doing?" "Homework assignment." "What is it?" Tyler takes out a handgun and hands the backpack back. "Human sacrifice." Jack turns white and stares at the gun. The back door opens and Tyler brings the store clerk out at gunpoint, forcing him to his knees. Jack follows, freaked. Tyler points the gun at the clerk. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0. "Please, don't!" "Give me your wallet." The clerk fumbles his wallet out of his pocket and Tyler snatches it. Tyler pulls out the driver's license. Raymond K. Hessel, 1320 Southeast Benning, Apartment A. A small, cramped basement apartment. "How did you know?" "They give basement apartments letters instead of numbers." "Raymond, you are going to die." Tyler rummages through the wallet. "Is this a picture of Mom and Dad?" Yes." "Your mom and dad will have to call kindly Dr. So-and-so to dig up your dental records, because there won't be much left of your face." "Please, God, no." Raymond begins to weep, shoulders heaving. "Tyler, an expired community college student ID card. What did you used to study, Raymond K. Hessel?" "Stuff." Stuff? Were the midterms hard?" Tyler rams the gun barrel against Raymond's temple. "I asked you what you studied." "Tell him!" "Biology, mostly." "Why?" "I don't know." "What did you want to be, Raymond K. Hessel?" Raymond weeps and says nothing. Tyler cocks the gun and Raymond gasps. "The question, Raymond, was what did you want to be?" "Answer him!" "A veterinarian." "Animals." "Yeah, animals and, stuff." "That means you have to get more schooling." "Too much school." Tyler shoves Raymond's wallet back into Raymond's pocket. "Would you rather be dead?" "No, please. Oh, God, no." Tyler moves the gun right between Raymond's eyes. No! Tyler uncocks the gun and lowers it. I'm keeping your license. I know where you live. I'm going to check on you. If you aren't back in school and on your way to becoming a veterinarian in 6 weeks, you will be dead. Now get the hell out of here. Raymond staggers to his feet and heads down the alley. Jack and Tyler watch Raymond flee. Then Tyler looks at Jack. I feel sick. Imagine how he feels. Tyler brings the gun to his own head and pulls the trigger. Click. It's empty. I don't care. That's horrible. Tyler walks away. Tomorrow will be the most beautiful day of Raymond K. Hessel's life. Jack watches Tyler go. His breakfast will taste better than any meal he has ever eaten. Jack turns to look the direction Raymond ran. He finally turns back and follows after Tyler. In slow motion, in the deserted office, the gasoline-filled computer monitors begin to explode. Boom, boom, boom. Luxury automobiles are parked. They are splattered with bird shit. Viewed out of a third-story window, Tyler uses a rake in the Paper Street house backyard, dragging it across rocks and dirt. He stops for a moment, the rake on his shoulder, then he gets back to work. You are not how much money you have in the bank. You are not the shoes you wear. Tyler is marking a large square in the weeds and rubble of the backyard, kicking rocks away and dragging the rake. You are not the contents of your wallet. The city bus driver has a broken nose. The bus is empty except for Jack in the very last seat, and he is sleepy. He had a plan. Maybe you just didn't see it until it hit you between the eyes. But it started to make sense in a Tyler sort of way. No fear, no distractions, the ability to let that which does not matter truly slide. Jack gets off the bus. As the bus pulls away, we see it drop Jack off in front of the house. Jack enters. Tyler is dressed in fatigues and splattered with paint. He grabs beer from the refrigerator. Hey. Jack notices rope and rappelling tools on the table. Tyler comes to hand Jack a bunch of beers and nods to the living room. Go on in, we're celebrating. Jack, bewildered, enters carrying beers. Tyler does not follow. Bob, Rick, and several other Fight Club guys sit in front at the TV, chanting not too loudly, also dressed in fatigues and splattered with paint. You are not your job. You are not your job. You are not how much money you have in the bank. Shh, wait, they're back into it. Bob goes to turn up the TV. One guy, 16 years old with an angelic face, angel face, gets up to take a beer from Jack. Great, thanks. Angel Face starts distributing beer amongst his cohorts. Shh, watch! Jack looks to the TV. It shows a live shot of the Parker Morris building. The building has a giant grinning face painted on it, 2 broken windows for eyes, with flames pouring out. Fire trucks spray water. Police Commissioner Jacobs has just arrived. Just a second. Excuse me, Commissioner, could you tell us what you think has happened? Commissioner Jacobs, a wrinkled official, turns to camera. We believe this is related to the recent acts of vandalism around the city. It's some kind of organized group, and we are coordinating a rigorous investigation. Jack turns and sees Tyler in the archway watching him. Tyler tips his beer to toast, pulls back out of sight. What did you guys do? They all burst into laughter. They look at Jack and shake their heads. Jack doesn't get it. Suddenly, the guys' faces turn to stone and Bob sits rigid. The first rule of Project Mayhem is you do not ask questions. Jack stares at them. A hotel ballroom, a luxurious banquet. Commissioner Jacobs guzzles champagne. He rises and starts out of the room. Jack, in a waiter's uniform, looks apprehensively to the other waiters, Bob, Ricky, Angelface, who all give each other a look. Jacobs saunters down an empty hall. He stops to check his tie in a mirror. He pushes open the door of the men's room, face to face with Tyler. Tyler grabs Commissioner Jacobs, pulling him into the bathroom. He slaps a piece of tape over Jacobs' mouth. The other waiters rush in. Jack stays back to keep the door shut. Tyler and the others hold Jacobs, pulling down his pants. Bob snaps a rubber band and reaches to Jacobs' crotch. Wrap it around the top of his hacky sack. Man, his balls are ice cold. Ricky produces a knife and moves it down to Jacobs' testicles. Jacobs is bug-eyed. Jack, red-faced, keeps his distance. You're not going to continue your rigorous investigation. You will publicly state that there is no underground group, or imagine the rest of your life with your scrotum flapping empty. Jacobs' mouth taped. No, please, no! We'll send one to the New York Times and one to the Los Angeles Times, press release style. Your nuts will be bi-coastal. Understood? The people you're after are everyone you depend on. We do your laundry, cook your food, and serve you dinner. We guard you while you sleep. We drive your ambulances. Do not fuck with us. Ricky makes a dramatic cut with a knife, causing Jacobs to jump. Ricky holds up the severed rubber band. Jack, Tyler, and the others file quickly out of the back service entrance. Tyler gives Angelface a hearty slap on the back. Angelface smiles at Tyler. He nods and grins. Jack sees this, his eyes narrowing, and stops walking. Fight Club in tavern basement in full swing. Jack battles Angelface, beating the shit out of him with unprecedented viciousness. I felt like putting a bullet between the eye of every panda that wouldn't screw to save its species. The crowd shouts maniacally, "Save Tyler," who watches with an inscrutable stone face. Angelface tries to speak, but Jack pounds too hard. Blood flies. The crowd begins to grow quieter. I wanted to open the dump valves on oil tankers and smother all the French beaches I'd never see. Finally, Angelface lies still and unconscious. Jack stops and stares down, numb. Jack walks away. The crowd parts to let him pass. Jack scans faces and finds Tyler. "Where did you go, psycho boy?" "I felt like destroying something beautiful." It's raining on the street near Lou's Tavern. Tyler and Jack walk through pools of streetlight. An idling car honks. Tyler leads Jack toward it. A bruised-faced valet Parker throws keys to Tyler, but Jack intercepts. "There you are, Mr. Durden. Airport parking, long term." He motions to the car. "After you, Mr. Durden." "No, after you." Tyler gets in the driver's seat. Jack gets into the front passenger seat. Ricky and the mechanic are in the back. Tyler pulls the stolen car from the curb. It has 2 bumper stickers: "Recycle your animals" and "Make mine veal." Rain gushes down in the stolen car. Jack stews silently. The car moves down the highway, intermittently illuminated by oncoming headlights. "Something on your mind?" "No." Tyler shrugs and turns on the radio and ignores Jack. "Why wasn't I told about Project Mayhem?" "What should I have told you?" "Why wasn't I involved from the beginning? You and I started Fight Club together." "Fight Club was the beginning. Now it's out of the basements, and there's a name for it. Project Mayhem." Ricky and mechanic together. "The first rule of Project Mayhem is you do not ask questions." "This is as much mine as yours." "Is this a needlepoint club? Is this about me and you?" "You know what I mean. What do you want, a statement of purpose?" "Look." Should I email you? Should I put this on your action item list? I want to know, what do you want to know about Project Mayhem? Ricky and the mechanic again. The first rule of Project Mayhem, shut up! I want to know what's going on. Tyler steers the car into the opposite lane and accelerates. Opposing headlights get closer, fast. This does not belong to us. We are not the leaders. We are not special. What are you doing? We are the all-singing, all-dancing crap of the world. We are all part of the same compost heap. Tyler! Tyler steers back into the proper lane. The other car flies past, horn sounding. What the hell? You choose your level of involvement. I won't make any decisions for you. I'm not asking you to. You're asking questions that don't have answers. You know just as much about Project Mayhem as anybody else. I don't think that's true. Tyler again steers into the oncoming lane, speeding up. Through the windshield, oncoming headlights, a truck. Tyler, what is this? Jack fights to turn the wheel, but Tyler uses both hands. What will you wish you'd done before you died? Paint a self-portrait. Build a house. And to Jack, and you? I don't know, nothing. If you died right now, how would you feel about your life? I would feel nothing about my life. Is that what you want to hear? The oncoming truck honks and flashes its lights. It moves to the other side of the road. Tyler steers there, too. I want to hear the truth. Fuck my life. Fuck Fight Club. Fuck you, fuck Marla. I'm sick of this. How was that? Why do you think I blew up your condo? What? Hitting bottom isn't a weekend retreat. It's not a seminar. You have to forget everything you know. Everything you think you know. About life, about friendship, about you and me. Nearing impact with the oncoming truck, Tyler takes his hands off the wheel. Jack keeps his grip and turns the wheel. The car swerves. The truck roars past, spraying water and horns blasting. Tyler looks at Jack, his hands in the air. Jack looks at Tyler with dead eyes. Okay, fine. Jack takes his hands off the wheel, holds them in the air. Tyler studies Jack's face, impressed. Tyler makes no move to take the wheel. Through the windshield, a stalled car ahead on the side of the road, surrounded by flares. Jack and Tyler's eyes stay locked as the car drifts onto the shoulder, heading for the stalled car. Their faces are illuminated by the light of the flares. Tyler smiles. They smash into the stalled car. Airbags inflate. The back of their car whips around and carries it to an ass-over-tea kettle roll down a hill. I've never been in a car accident. This must have been what all those statistics felt like before I filed them in my reports. The car finally hits the bottom and lies on its roof. Tyler crawls from the passenger side. He walks around and opens the driver's side door, drags Jack out into the mud. Ricky and the mechanic climb out the broken rear window. Tyler sits beside the stunned, wounded Jack. We just had a near-life experience. Jack lies in bed traumatized, his eyes empty, staring at the ceiling. Tyler sits in a nearby chair. In the world I see, you're stalking elk through a damp canyon forest, around the ruins of Rockefeller Center. You will wear leather clothes that last you the rest of your life. You will climb the wrist-thick kudzu vines that wrap the Sears Tower. You will see tiny figures pounding corn, laying strips of venison on the empty carpool lane of the ruins of a superhighway. Tyler stands and gives Jack's head a pat. He leaves. Feel better, champ. Jack sits at the kitchen table and sips coffee. He is pale, dazed, and seems broken. He hears the faint sound of sawing and hammering, unsure of where it's coming from. Marla walks into the kitchen, goes straight for the counter. Her back is to Jack as he looks at her. She pours coffee and lights a cigarette. A beat of silence, and then, "I'll be out of your way in a sec." She seems to be as weak as Jack. "You don't have to leave." "Whatever." "Really, I mean it. Have you been going to your groups?" "Chloe is dead." "When? Do you care?" "I don't know." It was a smart move on her part. Marla turns to face Jack, a grim expression on her face. There's a bruise on her arm. Jack gets up and moves closer. "Why are we both caught up like this?" "With..." I came so close to saying Tyler's name. I could feel it vibrate inside my mouth. Marla looks at him, waiting. "I don't understand. Why does a weak person have to go out and find a strong person to hang on to?" "What do you get out of it?" Faint sound of sawing and hammering. Jack can't quite figure out where it's coming from. "Do you hear that?" "Hear what?" "That's sawing and hammering." "Have we been talking too long? Must we change the subject?" Jack turns. Through the crack of the open basement door, Tyler is staring at Jack from the bottom of the stairs. His harsh whisper, "You're not talking about me, are you?" Jack reacts and turns back to Marla. No. That day you came over to my place to play doctor, what was going on there?" "What are you talking about?" "Nothing." "Nothing? I don't think so. This conversation is over. Is over." Marla comes to touch Jack's hair. Jack closes the basement door. Marla sees the kiss scar on Jack's hand and grabs it. Jack tries to pull it back, but Marla keeps a grip. "What is this? Who did this?" "A person? Guy or girl?" "Why would you ask if it's a guy or girl? Why would you get bent if I asked?" "Let go of me." He pulls his hand free. "Leave me alone." "You're afraid to say." Marla backs away, closes her eyes, struggling with frustration. She leaves out the back door, not looking back. Jack leans against a wall. After a moment, he opens the basement door and heads downstairs. Tyler walks upstairs, passing as Jack continues down. Jack looks around. Triple-decker bunks clutter the basement, as many as can fit into the space. "Tyler, what is this for?" From upstairs, the sound of a doorbell. Jack opens the door to the living room. Ricky stands on the porch, staring ahead in subordinate military style. He's in black pants, black shirt, black shoes, holds a paper bag with an army surplus mattress rolled up at his feet. What can I do for you, Ricky?" Tyler steps up beside Jack and looks Ricky over. "You're too young. Sorry." "Wait a minute." Tyler comes back inside and shuts the door. "Too young?" "If the applicant is young, we tell them he's too young. Old, too old. Fat, too fat." "Applicant?" "If the applicant waits at the door for 3 days without food, shelter, or encouragement, then he can enter and begin training." "Training? Tyler..." Jack comes out, walks around Ricky, hands in his pockets, unsure. Tyler watches and nods for Jack to go ahead. Look, you're too young. You're too young to train here. You should probably be on your way." No response from Ricky, who remains at attention. Jack goes back inside, and Tyler closes the door. The porch at night. Ricky remains at attention. Jack bursts out with a broom and knocks the brown paper bag out of Ricky's hand and kicks it away. "Are you deaf? I told you to leave. You will never get inside this house." Ricky is still there. Tyler comes out, friendly. "Look, friend, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. It's not the end of the world. Just go away. You're trespassing, and I will call the police. It's nothing personal." Ricky is in the same spot. Jack bursts outside with the broom again. You're never getting through this door, you stupid little weasel. Look at me when I talk to you. He whacks Ricky in the shoulder with the broom. What is your major malfunction? At the window, Tyler sips coffee and watches this scene on the porch below. Sooner or later, we all became what Tyler wanted us to be. On the porch in the morning, Ricky is still there. Bob is now next to him in black with a paper bag in hand, mattress at his feet. Tyler steps out. Jack stays in the doorway, locking eyes on Bob. To all the following questions, Ricky answers, Sir. You have 2 black shirts, 2 pair black trousers, 1 pair black boots, 2 pair black socks, 1 black coat, $300 personal burial money. Okay, go inside. Ricky goes in. Tyler turns to Bob. You're too old, sorry, and you're too fat. Nice seeing you. Bob looks genuinely hurt. He picks up his mattress and starts away. Tyler looks at Jack and rolls his eyes. Jack follows Bob. Bob, wait. He leads him back. Let me explain this to you. Bob stands at rigid attention. Tyler and Jack stand in the bathroom doorway, watching Ricky finish shaving off all his hair. Tyler comes to give the top of Ricky's head a sharp slap. A monkey, ready to be shot into space. A space monkey, ready to sacrifice himself for Project Mayhem. From here on, all those with shaved heads are space monkeys. Jack looks out the window. Bob stands motionless. Another applicant, a short guy, is beside Bob. Ricky comes out the front door with the broom. To Bob, You're too fucking old, fatty. We don't want your kind here. You're too short. Go away, Stumpy. Go back to the circus. Ricky hits them with the broom and then goes in and slams the door. And so it went. Tyler works with a half-dozen space monkeys in the backyard, preparing a square of backyard. They pull weeds, clear rocks, work with shovels, rakes. They cart wheelbarrows of rocks and carry in sacks of fertilizer. Tyler built his army. In the kitchen window, Jack watches. Jack keeps watching out the windows, eating toast. To what purpose, might one ask? Well, one might ask, if not for the first rule of Project Mayhem. Jack turns to look around the kitchen. 3 space monkeys work, 1 scrubbing the floor, 1 washing dishes, 1 scrubbing the walls. Jack walks out. In Tyler we trust. Jack opens his eyes, awakening to the sunlight through the window. Jack slowly pushes open the door to Tyler's room, but the room is empty. Tyler? Jack stares. He was gone. Jack comes downstairs and finds dozens of space monkeys. Jack enters the kitchen. Space monkeys are rendering fat to make soap. They pinch herbs and add them to the mix. They add vodka. Off to the side, a couple of monkeys stir a vat of rice. On one wall is a big bulletin board with hundreds of driver's licenses. A sign above it says, Human Sacrifices. A freckled space monkey walks through the kitchen. You are not beautiful, and you are not a unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everything else. We are all part of the same compost heap. Planet Tyler. Jack dips a spoon into the rice and chomps on it irritatingly. We are all singing all dancing crap of the world. Jack picks up the bottle of vodka. I had to hug the walls, trapped inside this clockwork of space monkeys cooking and working and sleeping in teams. Jack enters, vodka in hand. Reading room, 10 space monkeys in there reading. The house became a living thing, wet inside from so many people sweating and breathing. So many people moving, the house moved. Jack walks out. Jack enters the office. Angel Face reads a book and marks on a chart. Space monkeys shuffle papers and news clippings. Walls are lined with files, each labeled with a street address, under signs mischief, disinformation, and arson. Jack's eye lingers on arson. He starts flipping through the file. Angel Face takes the file from him. That wouldn't interest you. Where's Tyler? The first rule of project. All right. As Angel Face replaces the file, Jack notices a lye-burned kiss scar on the back of Angel Face's hand. Jack takes a swig of vodka and smokes. In the background, a space monkey whacks an applicant with a broom. It's a ritual, no words. Other space monkeys tend the garden. I am all alone. I am Jack's broken heart. Jack drops his cigarette in the gravel and steps on it. A space monkey immediately comes to clean it up. Get away from me! Marla's voice. Who are all these people? Jack turns and sees Marla with an overnight bag. The Paper Street Soap Company. Can I come in? He's not here. What? He's not here. Tyler's not here anymore. He's gone away. Marla stares at Jack, miserable. A tear runs down her cheek. She turns and walks away. Jack watches her go. There's a large commotion from the house. Voices are shouting. Jack heads to the back door. Jack enters. Ricky crawls bleeding from a gunshot wound to the leg. Space monkeys begin a rudimentary job of treating the wound. Other space monkeys carry in a dead body in black clothes and a ski mask, putting it on the table. What's going on? Space monkeys stare at the body. The mechanic, sweating, gets to his knees and pulls the ski mask off the corpse. It's Bob, with a gunshot wound to the head. Bob? Oh, Christ! Jack pushes past a space monkey and stares down, stricken. What happened? We were out on assignment. A sculpture adorned with a giant globe on top. We were supposed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. A series of explosions blasts the globe free and it rolls. A piece of corporate art. The globe rolls downhill to the street, rolling over one parked luxury car after another, crunching car roofs and causing windows to explode, and to trash a trendy coffee bar. Then the globe arrives at the lobby of a hotel, broadsides a limo and ricochets. It rolls directly on the front of a closed Aristo coffee bar, smashing windows, decimating coffee pushpats. Bob the mechanic and Ricky flee, laughing at their handiwork. They split up. We had it all worked out, man. It went smooth until the police. Police! Freeze! Sound of gunshots and flashes of muzzle fire. The mechanic looks up from Bob's corpse. They shot Bob. They shot him in the head, those fuckers. Jack walks away from Bob's corpse, distraught, holds his head. He turns to look back, his eyes filling with tears. We gotta do something. We gotta get rid of the evidence. We have to get rid of this body. Bury him. Jack looks around in disbelief. What? The garden. Take him there. Move, people. Let's do this. Several space monkeys gather around Bob's body. No! Space monkeys stop. Jack gets between them and Bob and shoves a few space monkeys back. Get your hands off him. Get off. What the hell do you think you're doing? Evidence? This is a man. You killed him. He was killed in action. No, look at you. You're running around in ski masks exploding things. He was killed serving Project Mayhem. It's what he would have wanted, sir. What he wanted? Look at him. What does he want? He wipes tears and points at Bob. This is a person. This is not a cog in your machine. But this is Project Mayhem. No, this is a man. This man has a name. But in Project Mayhem, we have no names. No, wrong. This man's name is Robert Paulson. Robert Paulson? Robert Paulson is dead. He's dead because of you. I understand. Everyone just stares at Jack. In death, a member of Project Mayhem has a name. No! His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. No! His name is Robert Paulson. All the space monkeys repeat, "Stop that! His name is Robert Paulson! His name is Robert..." Jack backs away, surrounded, and pushes his way out of the room. Jack barges into Tyler's room, rifling through the drawers. He finds flight coupons, used and unused. The unused coupons have the flight information, including the destination cities. The phone rings and Jack answers it. "Tyler? This is Detective Stern from the arson unit. I'd like to see you in my office tomorrow morning." Jack, in a panic, hangs up. Jack sits stiffly on a plain cabin seat. "I went to the cities on Tyler's used ticket stubs." Jack hurries from the airport terminal and runs to a taxi. "In every city, I branched out from the airport to downtown, bar hopping." Jack looks out the window, intently watching buildings. "I didn't know how or why, but I could look at 50 different bars and I somehow just knew." Jack to the driver. "Here, let me out, right here." Jack enters a bar. He sees several male patrons with fight bruises. Jack moves to the bar. The bartender has a broken arm and swollen face. "I'm looking for Tyler Durden." "Never heard of him." "This is an emergency. It's important I find him." "I wish I could help you, sir." The bartender winks at Jack. "Every city I went to, as soon as I set foot off the plane, I knew Fight Club was close." We see different skylines of Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas. Jack runs through the airport, lugging his suitcase. Tyler was setting up franchises all over the country. The proprietor of a dry cleaner has his head bandaged and is confronted by Jack. "I need to know where Tyler is. Can you help me?" "Sir, you're disturbing the other patrons with your lavish behavior." "There's no one else here." "I'm sorry, I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about. Look at my face. I'm a member. I just need to know if you've seen Tyler Durden." "I'm not disclosed to bespeak any such information to you, nor would I, even if I had the information you want at this juncture to be able." Jack looks around, incredibly frustrated. "You are a moron. I'm afraid I have to insist that you leave." Jack gives up and shoves his way out the door. Jack sits on a city bus and looks out the window. The bus stops. Under and behind and inside, everything I took for granted. Something horrible had been growing. Out the window, a construction worker with a broken nose works a jackhammer. He stops and wipes his brow. TV shows football. In a sports bar, the TV shows football. Jack is seated with two bruised patrons. "No one's ever seen him. No one knows what he looks like. He has facial reconstructive surgery every 3 years. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Is it true there's a fight club in Miami? Is Durden building an army? Am I asleep?" Jack sits awake in an airplane. Everyone around him is asleep. Have I slept? I'm not sure if Tyler is my bad dream or if I'm Tyler's. Jack steps off the sidewalk and hails a taxi. The alley is deserted. Jack heaves rusty cellar doors. He opens the doors and looks around. He heads downstairs. I was living in a state of perpetual déjà vu. Jack enters the dank basement, walks ahead in the dim light. The place is damp and empty. He looks down. Everywhere I went, I felt I had already been there. At his feet, dried blood on the concrete floor. Jack walks into another bar. The place is empty. He walks to a kitchen door, opens it, and peers in. A group of kitchen workers solemnly standing in a circle, chanting, "His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson." A man's voice from behind him. "Welcome back, sir." Jack whirls, startled, facing the wounded bartender, who wears a neck brace. His nose, a smashed eggplant. "Where have you been?" "You know me? Is this a test, sir?" "Yes, it's a test. You were in here last Thursday night." "What? You were standing right where you are now, asking how good our security is. It's tight as a drum. Who do you think I am? Is this part of the test? Jack nods slowly. The bartender holds up his hand and shows a kiss scar on the back of his hand. You're the one who did this to me. You're Mr. Durden, sir. Tyler Durden. Please return your seats to their full upright and locked position. Jack bursts inside a hotel room out of breath and runs to grab the phone. He punches a number and doesn't bother to turn on the lamp. Marla answers. Yeah? Marla, it's me. Have we ever had sex? What kind of stupid question is that? Because the answer's yes or because the answer's no? Is this a trick? Will you just answer me for Christ's sake? You mean you want to know if I think we were just having sex or making love? We did make love? Is that what you're calling it? Answer the question. You fuck me, then snub me. You love me, you hate me. You show me your sensitive side, then you turn into a total asshole. Is that a pretty accurate description of our relationship, Tyler? We have just lost cabin pressure. What did you say? What is wrong with you? Say my name. What? Say my name. What's my name? Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden, you fucking freak. What's going on? I'm coming over there. Marla, no, wait. As Marla hangs up, Jack stares at the receiver, dazed. We've got 6 fight clubs in Chicago now. Jack spins, dropping the phone. Tyler sits beside him. 4 in Milwaukee. What's this all about, Tyler? And we're definitely filling a void in the rural South. Why do people think I'm you? You broke your promise. You talked to her about me. Why do people think I'm Tyler Durden? Why did you do that? Answer me, Tyler. Why do people think anything? I don't know, tell me. Tyler shakes his head in disgust, extremely irritated. People think that you're me because you and I happen to share the same body. What? Is this really news to you? What are you talking about? Sometimes I control it, and you imagine yourself watching me. We cut to Commissioner Gordon checking his tie in a mirror. He goes to open the door of the men's bathroom, and he is face to face with Jack. Lou's bar basement. Jack stands surrounded by eager Fight Club members under the bare bulb, talking and behaving like Tyler. The first rule of Fight Club is, you don't talk about Fight Club. Back to the hotel room. And sometimes, you control it. Jack stands in the yard, vodka in hand, yelling at Marla. He's not here. Tyler's not here anymore. He's gone away. You can see me and hear me, but no one else can. Jack sits alone on the curb watching a nearby freeway. He talks to someone beside him, but nobody's there. Anyone? My boss, probably. Who would you fight? Jack listens and looks at empty space beside him. Oh yeah, I didn't really know my dad. But when you fall asleep, I do things without you. Jack is on top of Marla, sweating and making love. I go places without you, get things done. The Parker Morris building. Jack, Bob, Ricky, and Angelface, and another guy rappel down the side spray painting. Jack is Tyler in demeanor, mannerisms, and speech. You are not your job. You are not how much money you have in the bank. 2 windows shatter outward and 2 men look out and yell, I am not my job. I am not how much money I have in the bank. Jack is having trouble catching his breath. Tyler stands. There. Happy? I asked for one thing from you, one simple promise, and look what you've done. This isn't possible. We're going to have to do something about Marla. What are you saying? It's okay. We're a little codependent, sure, but... Jack shakes his head in disbelief, in denial. No, this isn't true. We were around other people, together, both of us. You never talked to me in front of anyone else. Wrong. What about the car crash? The two guys in the back seats. What about them? They're lunatics. You took me to the house. The house is rented in your name. You have jobs. Night jobs while you were sleeping. What about Marla? What about Marla? You're fucking her. Well, technically no. Jack stands, trying to absorb, feeling ill, trying to find words, and then suddenly he faints to the floor out cold. It's called a changeover. The movie goes on, and nobody in the audience has any idea. Jack's eyes snap open. He sits up alone. He remembers the previous night. He looks at himself in the mirror. He looks at the clock. 4:35 a.m. The room door slams open as Jack bursts out of the room, carrying his suitcase and sprinting for the stairwell. Jack races down the stairwell, 3 steps at a time, dragging his suitcase, boom, 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 behind him. Jack hurries to the front door of the lobby. His suitcase is half broken open. He passes the front desk. A desk clerk calls after him. "Sir, are you checking out?" "Yes." The clerk follows the length of the counter and waves a paper. "Please initial this list of phone calls." "Bill me." Jack goes out the door and freezes. He rushes back in and goes to the desk. He snatches the bill and studies it. Many numbers. "Wait, when were these made?" "It says right here, sir. Between 2 and 3:30 this morning." Jack looks at the clerk, at the bill, at the clerk. "I need a copy of this." Jack stares out the window, his face set hard. Had I been going to bed earlier every night? Had I been sleeping later? Has Tyler been in charge longer and longer? A taxi halts at Paper Street. Jack leaps out and points to the grungy cabbie. "Wait here." Jack walks in to find the place empty and deserted. He continues on into the kitchen, gawks at bathtubs and canisters, holding vast amounts of liquid. There are hoses, gas masks, beakers, test tubes, and pumps. He picks up a bottle labeled nitric acid. Jack sits by the phone in Tyler's room, pulls out the hotel bill, and runs his fingers up and down the list of phone numbers. Deja vu all over again. Jack's finger stops on a number. He dials and puts the phone to his ear. 1888. He sees a file on the wall. 1888 Century Park East. Who is this? Maintenance? Listen, something is going to happen. Something terrible. Very good, sir. Excuse me? Don't worry about us, sir. We're solid. No, wait, there's been a mix-up. Everything has changed. You told me you would say that. Abort the plan. You told me you'd say that too. Did I tell you I'd call you a fascist dickhead? Well, sir, you said you might. Jack hangs up and desperately dials the next number on the bill. 2160. Maintenance. Jack sees a file. 2160 Pico Boulevard. He throws the phone, pocketing the bill. He grabs up all the files. Jack's taxi halts at Marla's hotel. Marla walks out of the lobby doors and sees Jack getting out of the cab, laden with files. Marla! Marla makes a sharp turn, walking away. Jack follows, hugging the files to his chest and catching up. Marla? Your whacked-out bald freaks hit me with a fucking broom. I thought they were going to break my arm. I'm sorry, They were burning their fingertips with lye. The stink was unbelievable. Marla, I need to talk to you. It's going to take a tremendous act of faith on your part for you to hear me out. Now here comes the avalanche of bullshit. Marla heads into a diner, and Jack follows. A little more faith than that? Marla sits in a booth, and Jack sits across from her. I don't want to hear anything you've got to say. Give me a minute, Marla, all right? Just 60 seconds. 60 seconds, and I'm out of here. Absolutely, you have every right. I need you to do me a favor. I've done you enough favors. A waiter with a black eye appears at the table. Sir, anything you order is free of charge. Why is it free of charge? Because I'm Tyler Durden. Then I'll have a clam chowder, fried chicken, and a baked potato with everything, and a chocolate chiffon pie. Jack looks to the pass-through window in the kitchen where 3 cooks look out with stitches in their faces. Clean food, please. In that case, sir, may I advise against the lady eating the clam chowder? Thanks, no clam chowder. That's it. The waiter snaps to attention and leaves. You got about 30 seconds. Jack takes a deep breath. I know I've been unwell. I know it's like there's been 2 sides to me. 2 sides? You're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Jackass. I deserve that. Anyways, I've only just realized... What? I mean, the depth and breadth of our relationship has only recently been illuminated for me. I know we haven't really been such a good thing for you. Whatever. I'll take my food to go. Marla is getting up to go, but Jack rises, fed up, and takes her by the arm, putting her back in her seat. Sit down. Sit down. Give me my last 14 seconds without opening your mouth. Marla crosses her arms. Jack collects himself. I'm trying to tell you, and this is where you have to trust me. I think your life might be in real danger. What? You have to get out of here. Leave as soon as possible. Go to any rural town, away from any major city. You are an insane person. Marla? No, shut up. I've had enough. I tried, Tyler. I tried. Marla is getting upset, tears coming to her eyes. There's a part of you I really like, but I can't do this anymore. I just can't. This is killing me. I'm sorry, but... What? You're sorry? I don't believe that for a minute. Marla gets up. Jack grabs for her, but she's gone, heading for the door. Jack gathers his files and runs to follow. He pushes out the door, files under one arm, catching up. I can't explain. You wouldn't believe me anyway. I'm trying to protect you. Jack grabs her arm and tries to hail a taxi, but the taxi races past. Marla pulls free, screaming at him. Let go of me! Do this for me, Marla. Do this for me if you never do anything else. Jack spots a bus idling further up the street. Leave me alone. I don't ever want to see you again. Okay, if that's what it takes, you'll never have to see me again. He digs in his pocket. Here. He pulls money from his pocket and holds it out. Take this money, get on this bus, get on, and I promise you I'll never bother you again if that's what you want. Please. Marla looks at Jack, numb. Tyler, I'm begging you, get on the bus. Get on the bus. Marla takes the money from Tyler and walks toward the bus. As they approach it, Jack shields his eyes, afraid to look. Why are you doing this? I can't let myself see where you're going. Go wherever it takes you. Remember, keep away from major cities. Marla stands at the doors of the bus, heartbroken, gives one last look at Jack. I'm not paying this back. I consider it asshole tax. Yes, fine, just get on. Stay away for a couple of weeks, at least. Jack is still covering his eyes. Marla gets on the bus. Tyler? Jack finally looks to her. You were the worst thing that ever happened to me. Doors hiss shut. The bus leaves and heads away. Jack seems relieved, and then a scream is heard from Marla. Jack turns and looks through the bus windows. The bus is filled with bald men in black, space monkeys. Jack sprints after the bus. The bus speeds away. On board, space monkeys subdue Marla. Jack falls to the asphalt and rolls, files flying. Son of a bitch! Jack runs to the front desk of a police station, crazed. He dumps the armload of files on the desk, in front of the desk sergeant. I want you to arrest me. I'm the leader of a terrorist organization responsible for acts of vandalism all over the city. Detective Stern in arson knows who I am. Detective Stern and 3 detectives stand staring at Jack, who is seated. On the table are phone bills and files. There are probably several hundred members in the metropolitan area. Chapters are sprouting in at least 5 other major cities. They're tightly regimented, with many cells capable of operating without a central leader. Check this address, 1537 Paper Street. You'll find the body of Robert Paulson buried in the garden. You'll also find numerous tubs used to make gallons of nitroglycerin. The plan, I believe, is to blow up these credit card headquarters and the TRW building. Why these buildings? You are not your job. You are not how much money you have in the bank. Stern to the other detectives. Keep him talking. Stern leaves. A beat passes. Then the remaining detectives smile at Jack with reverence. I really admire what you're doing. You're a brave man to order this. What? You're a genius, sir. They grab Jack and force him on his back on a table. Flat Top has a rubber band. The bald detective has a knife. You know the drill. You said if anyone ever tries to interfere with Project Mayhem, even you, we gotta get his balls. Flat Top pulls Jack's pants completely off and tosses them aside. Jack screams. Flat Top holds his legs. It's useless to fight. This is a really powerful gesture, Mr. Durden. It'll set quite an example. No, you're making a mistake. You told us you would say that. I am not Tyler Durden. You told us you would say that too. Okay, I am Tyler Durden, and I'm ordering you to abort the mission. You said you would definitely say that. What's our best time for a cut and run? 4 minutes? Is someone timing this? Redhead looks at his watch. Wait till the second hand gets to the 12. A knock at the door. Flat Top slaps a hand over Jack's mouth. He and Redhead block view of the table as Baldy opens the door a crack. Stern mutters, Some of this info checks out. Let's go to the place on Paper Street. Baldy glances back at the other detectives, leaves, and closes the door. The two remaining detectives continue. Jack kicks and screams and writhes. The detectives wrangle him, but with more difficulty now that Baldy is gone. Redhead checks his watch. Mr. Durden, you're gonna fuck up the time. Jack gets one leg free, kicks, knocks Flat Top backwards. Flat Top slams the wall and falls. Redhead lets go of one of Jack's arms and jams his elbow into Jack's throat, cutting off the airway. Jack's face reddens. He's choking. Jack's free hand reaches, searching, and pulls Redhead's gun and points it at him. Redhead backs off. Jack gets up, gasping for air, pistol whips Flat Top as he rises. He grabs one of the files off the table. Jack, without pants and boxer shorts, escapes out the back door of the police station. He looks at the address of the file folder. Jack sprints down the middle of the street, gun in hand, looking like a complete madman. Cars almost hit him. At a bank building, Jack is sweating and panting. He stops and looks, and then heads toward the building with the address 1888. Jack tries the door. Locked. He lifts a cast iron bench and runs forward and rams it into the glass. The bench immediately recoils from the glass and slams his groin. Jack falls to his knees doubled over, holding his package. Then he rises and shoots the glass. Jack pushes through the broken glass. He sprints for the parking door. Jack enters the ground level. There are no cars. He bolts to the stairs. Jack enters, heaving. Again, no cars. He moves from one support post to another, searching. He finally spies, across the garage, 9 large canisters, heavily wired. Jack runs to the bomb, frantic. He walks around it. There's a digital clock ticking down from 10:05. Jack moves to pull the lid off one canister and looks inside. Tyler. Could be worse. Jack looks. Tyler is seated, his back against one post. You could be standing under 37 stories of steel and concrete, with 150 gallons of nitroglycerin strapped to the support, but... Oh, maybe it couldn't be. Jack points at the bomb. You can't be serious about this. What a ridiculous thing to say. I can't let you go through with this? What are you going to do? I'm going to stop me? I'm not going to let this happen? Stop finishing your sentences? They're our sentences. Get your mind around that. Tyler gets up, walks to Jack. What are you doing running through the street in your underpants? We both use that body. Since when is this Project Mayhem about murder? The buildings were evacuated 30 minutes ago. Everything's proceeding exactly as planned. You still don't know that. There could still be people inside. Tyler keeps walking around and crosses his arms. Maybe a couple of guys with shaved heads couldn't synchronize their watches. Good riddance. Jack looks back at the bomb, goes to it, wiping sweat off his face. He starts to finger the many wires, sorting them. I wouldn't be doing that unless you know which wires and in what order. If you know, I know. Jack holds his gun under one armpit, uses both hands to go through the tangle of colored wires. Or maybe I knew you'd know, so I spent the whole day thinking about the wrong ones. Jack chooses one wire, green, and holds it in his fingers. If I'm wrong, we're both dead. This is not about martyrdom. Jack twists the green wire around his finger. I'm pulling the green wire. Green? Did you say green? Tyler comes a little closer, leaning to try to get a look. He seems genuinely concerned. Yes. Don't pull the green wire. Pull anything but the green wire. Fuck you. I'm serious. That's the wrong one. Jack is unsure. Swallowing, pulling the wire taut, fingers trembling. The sound of a vehicle is heard from below. Hear that? Marla's here. Just in the nick of time, eh? Jack looks to Tyler, and Tyler points toward the sound. See for yourself. Jack releases the wire and walks to the railing, gun in hand. He keeps an eye on Tyler. Jack looks over the railing. Below, a bus idles. The doors open, and Marla is dragged out, kicking and screaming, carried by 6 space monkeys. You motherfuckers! They carry Marla into the building's entrance. Jack leans against the railing, exhausted. I've got everything. The bombs, the army. I've got Marla. Bob is dead, Tyler. The police blew a hole in his head. Was that part of your plan? Tyler thinks and shrugs. Bob was a grown man. In any great struggle, there will be casualties. Wouldn't that be implicit in the name? Project Mayhem? Fuck your struggle. I want out. You want out? I quit. Not an option. For the most obvious of reasons. You need to get with the program. He looks at his watch. 7 minutes. Let's get out of here. Tyler walks away, and Jack looks at the gun in his hand. He points the gun at Tyler. Tyler? Tyler's still walking away. What? He cocks the gun. Defuse the bomb. Tyler stops walking. Ask me nicely. Defuse the bomb, please. Defuse the bomb? Yes. Tyler strides toward the bomb. Jack trains the gun. Tyler looks at the bomb and reaches over to it. He grips the green wire and yanks it out. The clock stops. Jack lowers his gun. I did that for you, as a gesture. Now how fast can you run? There are 10 other bombs in 10 other buildings in the immediate area. If you're going to get them all, you better get cracking. 6 minutes, green wires, remember? I'll be upstairs. Jack is stunned. Tyler walks across the parking garage, past Jack, and heads for the stairs. He aims the gun at Tyler's back and fires. Tyler ducks to one side, impossibly quick, and avoids the shot. Tyler spins to face Jack. Whoa, what the hell was that all about? Jack aims and fires. Tyler dodges behind a post as the bullet throws some concrete. Jack edges forward, gun held in both hands. He moves around the post, but Tyler is not there. Jack turns and takes a slow step, moving the gun from side to side. Suddenly a fist enters frame and slugs Jack's face. Jack falls. The gun goes clattering across the floor. Jack turns looking, but Tyler is gone. Jack looks to the gun and scrambles to his feet, running to pick it up. Tyler kicks Jack in the chest and sends Jack sprawling. Jack rolls, holding his chest. He looks up, sees Tyler running into the stairwell. Jack grabs the gun and follows. Jack smashes the door open, but the stairwell is empty. Jack runs up a flight of stairs and kicks open another door. Jack steps forward, gun up. 2 interlocked hands slam down onto his head. Jack drops to the floor. Tyler backs away, laughing. Jack gets to his feet and aims his gun. Fire at will. Jack clenches his teeth, firing, but nothing happens to Tyler. Jack fires twice, with no effect. Tyler raises his arms. What did you expect? Jack charges. Tyler dodges, punches, and knocks the gun out of Jack's hand. They fight, trading punches, grappling, taking each other to the floor. Banks of security monitors sit unmanned. On one monitor, Jack is seen in the lobby on the floor, alone wrestling himself. He swings his left hand up, punching empty air, and then swings his right hand, punching himself in the side of the head. Tyler and Jack fight viciously, bloodied. Tyler manages to get his hand around Jack's throat and starts banging Jack's head against the floor. Jack's got his hand around his own throat, banging his own head against the floor over and over. Jack manages to break Tyler's grip and kicks Tyler away. Tyler springs to his feet, runs, and heads for a staircase. Jack gets up, breathing hard, holding his head, and follows. On the stairs, Tyler reaches the loft level, above the lobby, and disappears around a corner. Jack's right behind, turning the corner, but Tyler is not there. Jack receives a sharp slap on the back of the head. He wheels. Tyler isn't there. A tap on his shoulder. He turns around. Wham! Tyler punches his face. Jack falls against the loft railing. Tyler comes forward and swings. On the security monitor, Jack punches himself square in the nose. Jack is dazed. Tyler grabs Jack's shirt and pulls him forward and swings him down the stairs. Jack tumbles horribly down. He hits the bottom and strikes his head on the floor. Jack passes out. We close on a large social room. Jack's head jerks back as he snaps awake. He looks around, trying to focus his eyes. From his point of view, we see sawdust on the floor, where his body was dragged across to where he is now. Jack tries to comprehend. He turns his head. Tyler's hand brings the gun up and puts the gun in Jack's mouth. Jack freezes and looks around with his eyes. Tyler is seated in Jack's lap. Tyler holds the gun in Jack's mouth, his arm around him. This huge room is being remodeled. Tyler and Jack are seated near floor-to-ceiling windows, affording a spectacular view of the city. Tyler looks at his watch. 1 minute. I think this is about where we came in. This is the beginning. We're at ground zero. Maybe you should say a few words to mark the occasion. I am a missionary. Jack tongues the barrel to the side of his mouth. I still can't think of anything. Tyler checks his watch. It's getting exciting now. Jack turns so he can see down 31 stories. Look what we've accomplished. 30 seconds. Out these windows, we will view the economic collapse. One step closer to global equilibrium. I'm glad you're here with me. Tyler watches the skyline, whistles a tune and waits. Can't you call it off? It's out of our hands. He looks at his watch. This is it. Please. 15 seconds now. Can you see all right? Tyler looks out the window at surrounding buildings, excited. Jack closes his eyes and despairs. 5, 4, 3, 2... Out of the window, the skyline remains unchanged. Nothing happens. A long beat. A very dark scowl comes over Tyler's face. Jack opens his eyes. More waiting. Tyler looks genuinely surprised and pissed off. What the fuck? Paraffin. What? Paraffin. Your merry band mixed the nitro with paraffin. I saw it floating in the bomb. They must have run out of cotton and Epsom salt. Paraffin is iffy at best. Tyler rises and takes the gun from Jack's mouth. He starts pacing. Jack rubs his sore jowls and allows himself a smile. Damn it! Damn it! Not exactly according to plan. Do we have to do everything ourselves? Tyler stops walking and lets out a sigh of disgust. He reaches into his pocket and takes out a walkie-talkie. Codename Rooster. Passcode First Strike. Jack's eyes go wide. No. Proceed with remote detonation. Jack leaps and tackles Tyler. The gun is knocked away. Jack strikes Tyler's face repeatedly with his elbow and scrambles off. He gets the gun, turns, and points it. Tyler is getting to his feet. He sees the gun, annoyed. Jack stands. Haven't we already done this? Jack shoots twice. The bullets pass right through Tyler. Tyler just rolls his eyes and drops the walkie-talkie to the floor. He stomps on it, crushing it. How do you do that? You're a fucking figment of my imagination. You're a psychogenetic fugue state. Fuck that. Maybe you're my hallucination. Jack falters and points at Tyler's feet. There's no walkie-talkie there. Jack looks down. We see the walkie-talkie crushed under his own foot. Oh, Christ. Jack holds his head and walks around at his wit's end. Why? Why can't I get rid of you? Why can't I just wish you away? You need me. No, I don't. I thank you, I really do. Thank you, but I don't need you anymore. Look, I can be selfish, I know that. I'm not blind to my own failings. No, please. Jack backs up against a window, numb and weary. From now on, we'll share Marla. We've been spending too much time apart. No. No more running off without you. From here on out, we do it together. Why are you doing this? I'm doing this for us. Please understand. I've gotten all I can from this, Tyler. If I leave, you'll be right back where I found you. I swear on my life I won't. You will. You know you will. Jack stares at Tyler, tears welling up. He hangs his head. He looks at the gun in his hand. Can you live with that? Jack stares at the gun a long time. Then he brings the gun up and puts it in his mouth. Tyler cocks his head. What are you doing? What have you left for me? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to put that gun in your mouth? Not my mouth. Our mouth. Tyler is calm. This is interesting. Tyler smiles in appreciation, slowly walks forward and stands very close to Jack. Why are you going through with this, IKEA boy? It's the only way to get rid of you. Jack cocks the hammer on the gun. I can see you feel very strongly. I feel strongly too. Hey, you and me? Friends again? Their eyes are locked, unblinking. Long silence. Do something for me. What? Appreciate something. What? Look at me. What? My eyes are open. Extreme slow motion as Jack's finger squeezes the trigger. Jack's cheeks inflate with gas. His eyes bulge and blood flies out from his head. The window behind him shatters. Smoke wafts out of his mouth and tear ducts. We resume normal speed as the glass falls behind Jack. Tyler stands in gun smoke, eyes glazed, and sniffs the air. What's that smell? Jack slumps to the floor and Tyler falls. Tyler hits the ground. The back of Tyler's head is blown open, revealing blood, skull, and brain. Suddenly, a group of space monkeys bursts into the room and moves forward to Jack. Tyler's body is gone. "Are you all right, sir?" Jack quakes and holds the side of his head, a ragged hole blown in his cheek. He's bleeding hard, but he's alive. I'm okay." Jack looks to the space monkeys, trying to get his eyes to see. 2 space monkeys enter with Marla. One holds a gun to Marla as she struggles. "Are you sure? You look terrible, sir. What happened?" "Everything is fine." "Sir, you look really awful. Do you need medical assistance?" Jack sees Marla and tries to get to his feet and falls. "Bring the girl to me. The rest of you, get out, now." The monkeys bring Marla, releasing her, saluting. "What happened?" "Don't ask." Marla crouches, takes out wadded tissues. She tries to apply them. Space monkeys are leaving hesitantly. "Get to the rendezvous point. Move it." Jack and Marla are left alone. "My God, you're shot." "Yes." Jack tries to get up. Marla helps him. "Who did this to you?" "I did it, I think, but I'm okay. I'm fine." Massive explosion. The glass walls rattle. Jack and Marla look out the windows. A building explodes and collapses upon itself. Then another building implodes into a massive cloud of dust. Jack and Marla are silhouetted against the skyline. Jack looks to Marla, reaches to take her hand. "I'm sorry. You met me at a very strange time in my life." Marla looks at him. Another building implodes and collapses inward. Another building and another. The film slows and then advances 1 frame at a time, showing sprocket holes on the side. Each frame is an imploding building, and then 1 frame is a penis. Then the imploding building again. Speed up the frames, lose the sprocket holes, and resume normal speed. We fade to black. The end. If you enjoyed this movie reading, please subscribe. Don't forget to comment below if you made it all the way until the end.